Yeah.
Holy cow.
It had your name on it. I made sure I passed it on. Yeah. It had your name on it. I made sure I passed it on.
This was the resolution for schools.
What am I looking at? I want to-
Yeah, this is right. For schools, 12,499.
All right, then I'm mistaken.
Yeah.
Maybe 12,450 was the original number?
I think it was the original.
Okay, maybe that's why it's stuck.
Think about that. Go back up. Okay, we're back.
Okay.
All right, we're back.
Okay.
Okay.
We're live now?
Yes.
Okay, okay, thank you.
All right. Okay.
We're live now?
Yes.
Okay, okay, thank you.
There were no real changes, additions to so no changes at all to the water and sewer fund budgets.
No question.
I'll wait topic.
Okay, okay.
You go down to stormwaters where you'll see the first highlighted change, and that's the revenue or the rate reduction. You can see the formula up there, just multiply by 1, so you say the same. Which means, I believe this one up. I forgot to highlight it, so that's what I still need to go through the sheet and make sure it's cleaned up. So we did a reserve contribution from the storm. We're in a positive position for the stormwater fund. So we're doing some temporary fund balance support to the stormwater fund to help out our residents during to not have to raise the fees on stormwater on our residents during COVID-19. And again, we want to explore a creative solution for the Russia Branch stream restoration, because that's the project that's driving these rate increases. If we can come up with some kind of public-private partnership model there that we're exploring right now, we may be able to do that and save significant amount of money to avoid having to do some of these. So that's something that we're going to, just like the enterprise fleet program, we're going to try to find a new solution so that we don't have to do these things. But for FY21, we're looking to do a reserve contribution to help our residents by not having to increase rates during a recession. So that's how we balance the stormwater, simply with the reserve contribution. For the solid waste fund, sorry, that's why I didn't do the PowerPoint, because there's still an error here. There is no reserves to contribute, so what I did is we reduced the hazardous waste events, and we were going to do the glass dumpsters this year. I'm recommending we push that back till next year. We're not going to do a rate increase. So I still have to look at this a little bit more. But these are the proposals for how to balance the budget without doing a rate increase. So deferring the glass dumpsters until next year to start that if our position is better off next year.
How much was the hazardous waste before?
45,000. So we still want to do something, but I gotta, like I said, I didn't finish this. I still have to review this, but I wanted to give you some initial highlights.
Does that mean we only do like one event
Yeah,
instead
we'll
of
try to
two?
do as much as we can with that framework.
Does that
And
mean
again,
only
with
like one
what
event?
you all
We'll
approved,
try to do as
much as we can. Remember, this budget didn't take into impact the waste transfer station, right? We have to see when that goes live, how, I believe that's going to have some positive impacts for our rate growth in the future, and also our hazardous waste events, and there's going to be other benefits. So we may just see an FY21 impact, but in the long run, we're going to be in a much better position based off the waste transfer station once that becomes a reality. For CIP, I'll show you what changed here. For CIP, I'll show you what changed here. So you'll see with the principal and interest for the lease purchase agreements that we have for the police vehicles, we're only doing those that are existing, right? So we're letting those taper off till they get to zero, right? You see them go down. Because now the procurement will happen through enterprise. Same thing with fire. You'll see same thing with fire. You'll see this is the last one. So I removed the other vehicle that was here before, shipped it down enterprise, and this is an existing lease purchase agreement that we have for a vehicle for the fire department. And you can see throughout these, I've zeroed out those vehicles that can be procured by enterprise. For Calvin's department down the water and the stormwater section, you will see some, just like the ambulance isn't something you can get with enterprise. There's some of Calvin's vehicles as well that you can't get. They're just too large. They're not kind of SUV or below, or trucks and below. So, but you'll see all these zeroed out, so they're highlighted where we zeroed out those numbers. The red was things that we previously, from the original budget submission, we zeroed out, specifically this one. If we don't have the downtown, they're just not long-term revenues to support some of these things that we want to do. Although Patty's coming up with a solution for this one that makes it where we may not have to spend a dime on that one. So we're still working with her on that one. Social services again, pushback Signal Hill Park Trails. I really would want to do that. I know our residents want our trails looking good, but because of the uncertainty right now, COVID-19, those are one of the projects that we identify that we can wait another year if we have to. The playground was already pushed back, that's why that one is red. The playground was already pushed back, that's why that one is red. Security cameras, we pushed those back 1 year as well.
Okay, good.
Just to balance the FY21 budget. So if we're in a good position for 22, we should be able to finally do our security cameras, something we've been trying to do for a very long time. And then these were items, again, that were already previously cut, these red ones over here, had reduced items. So.
What about the computers? Didn't we lease our computers? What about the computers? Didn't we lease our computers?
Information, so hardware. Yeah, so that's going to be part of the hardware.
Mm-hmm.
The plan is to upgrade our laptops.
Mm-hmm. Or go to laptops, because we still have
Eventually
desktops.
Yeah, but we have to replace the desktop life cycle was going to be slowly kind of dying. So you can see there's kind of like a procurement plan over the next few years to buy up laptops.
Mm-hmm.
That procurement plan has been sped up because of our need to have telework, which is why I'm proposing using CARES Act funding, which is directly allowed for laptops. So that's
Because then people can work from home.
exactly where it's feasible. Yeah, people can work. And it just allows for more mobile workforce. And then you can see the enterprise fleet program here, numbers plugged in across the 10 years. And what I'm going to do for this weekend's presentation that I post is I'll show you what the fleet numbers were before, what they'll be afterwards, the entire. So I'll show you fuel, the maintenance, the actual procurement costs, and how much you'll save the city money by going through this strategy. That's pretty much the major changes for the FY21 budget. Again, I still need to finalize it, and I'll develop a PowerPoint that kind of goes over all these changes. But in reality, the biggest changes are the CARES Act funding, and that's what we're going to spend more time on tonight.
In reality, the biggest changes are the CARES Act funding, and that's what we're going to spend more time on.
Question for
Go
you.
ahead.
Were
Go
the-
ahead.
Was there any changes to PRTC gas tax
ahead.
revenue?
Go ahead.
Was there any,
Because the gas has now been
PRTC
so low
gas
now
tax
for so
revenue
many months.
because
Are there new
the gas has
assumptions
now
in
been
that,
so low now
or
for so many months?
or was it just
Are there new
already
assumptions
low, so you had already
in that,
assumed that in, or?
We went with the
was it
numbers
just
that
already
PRTC
low, so you'd
provided
already
us a few
assumed
months
that
ago.
in, or-
Isn't there a 2 or 3 month lag on that?
So if we get any updates from them,
Isn't there a 2 or 3 month
we'll
lag on
definitely
that?
have to update it during the budget amendment, and then the model next year we'll have to update based off of the impacts. But we're really dependent on PRTC to give us those numbers.
Yeah, I was just thinking that it's been kind of low for a while now, and it looks like it's going to be low for the foreseeable
Been kinda
future,
low for a
lower than it
while
was
now, and
even,
it
say,
looks like
6
it's gonna
months
be
ago.
low
We had a lot less people
the
driving.
foreseeable
last
future,
few months.
lower than it
So I
was
do
even,
see
say,
the
6
impact.
months ago.
Potential impact of that.
Mhm. There will be. Any other questions or comments?
I have.
Go ahead. Any
So
other
how many new
questions or
hires will we have in
comments?
this new budget?
Um,
I have.
It would just be
So
the
how many new
registrars.
hires Just that will one? we have in this new budget? And without our glass,
That's not a new hire, that's
just that
changing
one.
from a
It's
.5
modified.
FTE to
Glass,
it's a FTE increase.
Okay. And without having our own glass dumpsters, will our residents still be able to use the dumpsters on Ballsport? Dumpsters, will our residents still be able to use the dumpsters on Ballsport?
Are they currently allowed to use that? Or?
They've never stopped me.
Okay.
Okay.
I hate to raise the question then, and then they
Okay,
stop.
then don't. Okay.
But our ultimate goal is to
Okay,
get our own
then don't.
last dumpster.
Okay.
Just, we can't do it this year.
Okay,
Our ultimate
thank you.
goal is to get
Okay,
our own
okay.
last dumpster.
Councilmember Machado, do you have any questions?
Yes, I do.
Councilmember Machado, do you have any questions?
I'm looking at the screen for the transfer from MBTA fund for transportation. When are you expecting to receive? Do you receive the full amount in part? When are you expecting to receive?
So the way that one works is we receive money from MBTA every month as part of their distribution. This year, we've been receiving it in two different ways, one directly from MBTA and then one from the courts for the grantors tax. With that changing now, we're only going to get it from the MBTA going forward, but it is on a monthly basis. That goes towards a fund that you'll see in the audit is a reserved fund. It's a restricted fund that we can't utilize for anything else except for transportation projects. So that monthly money just goes towards building up that fund balance. And what you see in the actual budgets, when you see transfer from NBTA fund for transportation, we're transferring from the NBTA fund balance for NBTA usage.
MBTA fund balance for.
Do you have a follow-up?
You can see, Miriam, down here where it says MBTA 30% locality
Do you have a
revenue.
follow-up?
That's how much we forecast to get in the entire year new revenue, which we receive on a monthly basis.
Entire year new revenue, which we
Thank
receive
you.
on a monthly basis.
Councilmember Sendejas, do you have a question?
Thank you.
I don't have any questions.
Councilmember
Thank you.
Sendejas, do you have a question? Councilmember Javed?
I don't have any questions. Thank you.
Councilmember Javed?
Yeah, I have two questions. I'm just curious, and I guess one of your Excel spreadsheets, just think it was a line item budget tab, tab number 204. It says other revenue of $106,000. What is that other revenue entail?
Row 204.
What is that other revenue?
I think I know what you're talking about, but let me just go up to
Rows
this.
2 or 4?
He's certain.
I think I
Yeah,
know.
it just says other revenue.
He's certain.
Yeah, it just says other
So
revenue.
each year, the city receives
So each
revenue
year,
that's not easily classifiable.
The city receives.
And that's what we
revenue that's
utilize for
not
that. So
easily
for example, last year, or I
That's
don't
what
know if it was the year
we
before,
utilize for that.
where
So, for
we
example,
took
last
the
year,
$1 million from
I don't know if it was the year
the Palisades
we took the
deal
$1
where,
million
because they
Oh,
hadn't
that's
developed,
right.
we didn't have it, we didn't want to just create a GL just for that, because that was a one-time thing. So these are items that we get one time, that's not classifiable for any existing GL revenues. So we just plug it into that code, and you'd be surprised. So you can see the actual, how these are the historical actuals, right? 136,000 in 17, 1 million there that I talked about in 18, 146,000 in 19. There's just things that it just ends up averaging usually around $100,000. So that's why we've been budgeting. And you see, I reduced it down to 75 because I wanted to be conservative. But we always usually end up getting around $100,000 of money that's just not easily classifiable to any existing GL.
Around $100,000 of money that's just not easily classified.
Do you have a follow-up? Do you have a follow-up?
No, that explains it. And then the other question was in regards to the VRE garage. I guess the cost went up. Our contribution for the redesign.
No, that's what you all voted to approve a few
Contribution
months
for the
ago,
redesign?
180-something thousand.
No, that's what you all voted to approve a few months ago, the 180 something.
There was like 5,000, let me see if I can find it. There was like 5,000, let me see if I can find it.
I don't think it's on this spreadsheet, but I will show you that tonight, or later today when we go over the FY20 budget amendment 2. It's actually in that file. But let me see, are you talking about some other project?
Here we go.
Are you
Capital
talking about demolition?
overview tab. The capital overview tab. Line number 16. The capital overview tab. Line number 16.
Is that $16? I can't see.
Yeah, it's the.
What's 17? It's $350,000.
There we go.
Yeah.
What's 17?
That's the demolition
$350,000.
right, for
Of the current building?
That's
for the VRE garage site, and I need to double check.
Of the current building?
I need to check over the budget for phase 3, because I'm not sure if we put it.
No, I don't think we're, it literally says, I think we're on the wrong tab here. This is one of your attachments that you emailed us earlier.
Yeah,
The
that's
number I'm
the-
looking at changed from 5,144 to 5,416.
Okay, yeah, that's for the spreadsheet we'll go over later in item E, I believe.
Yeah, that's for the
FY 20 budget amendment too.
Okay.
But I am glad you asked this question, because now I need to go back and look at because we've been kind of going back and forth on the budget and interim, or the comprehensive agreement for phase 3. I need to double check to see if that was actually part of the interim budget for the lease purchase agreement, or if that was something separate. So, thank you very much, Steve, for asking the question.
Or if that was something separate. So
Let me highlight
thank
this.
you very much.
Sure, no problem.
for the question.
Do you have another question?
Sure, no problem. No, that was the only two I have so far.
Okay, okay.
I have a question.
No, that was
Preston?
the only
Hey,
two I have so far.
Laszlo,
Okay.
if the school division's
Preston?
emergency with the
Laszlo,
chiller
If the
was
school
able to,
division's
charge and
emergency
receive it in
chiller
time,
was
that would have
able to,
changed our budget.
charge
And how would it
and
would
receive it
impact? It would have been
in
less,
time,
that surplus would have been gone, right?
Yeah, so if they're gonna get in FY 20,
That surplus would have been gone,
and the
right?
expenditures incurred in
so
FY
if
20,
they're gonna get in
then
FY 20,
the amount of their
and the
surplus would
expenditures
drop.
incurred in
right?
Okay.
So let's say,
Then
instead of
amount
the,
their
you know,
surplus
if we
would
budgeted
drop.
$12 million,
Okay, so let's say
if they were going to have
instead of
$300,000 surplus,
we budgeted
maybe
$12
it goes down now to
million, if they
$150,000
were going to
surplus.
have
So what ends up coming back to the
$300,000
city
surplus, maybe it
goes down.
Okay.
Now, what we have to be careful with
And
is,
what ends up
if
coming back to the
we're
city
committing
goes
to
down.
make
Okay.
that payment, if it's 300,000, we need to make sure that whatever surplus we have, we know that a piece of that in FY 21 is gonna have to go back to the schools for reimbursement.
Right, okay.
But that'd be via budget amendment. I believe we would request them to do a budget amendment, where they come in here, they show you what their end of year results were, what their surplus was, and then, to make the formal request to do a budget amendment for FY 21, which you'll, voted on via resolution, to amend that budget to increase it by that amount.
And they have agreed to do that? Yeah, okay. Yes.
Well, I had a comment, I just had a comment, was that
do-
the
yes.
city has been very conservative, this is especially for the public, is we're spending less money this coming year than the year we're in.
We're spending less money.
So just so people know that, almost
coming year
$1.9
than the year we're in.
million less
So just so people know that.
in the general fund,
$1.9
and
million
overall,
less.
over $1.3 million
general
less.
fund,
We are
and
spending less
overall,
money
over
next year than the year we're
$1.3
in.
million less.
And the school division is
spending
spending
less
almost
money
$3 million
next year than the year
more in
we're in.
operating.
And the school
So,
division is
we
spending
hear
almost
that
$3 million
we want more
more
money
in
to go to
operating.
schools. Well,
So,
it's very
we
clear,
hear
more
that
money's going to schools,
we
so
want more
I
money to
don't
go
want
to
to,
schools. Well,
I want to make sure
it's very
people are
clear
clear
more
about
money's
where
going to
money is
schools,
going in
so
the city,
I
and
don't wanna make sure
it's
people are
not, the
clear
city's
about
not
where
spending
money is
on our
going in the
side very
city.
much. We've cut back quite a bit in a lot of different areas. The city continues to grow, and the only place we've added.
To be clear, that's state funds that the school is getting.
Right.
That's not city funds that the city is spending on the
Oh,
schools.
yeah, but every year,
That's not city
we're giving
funds
them
that the
more
city is
money
spending on the schools.
than the current
Yeah,
year.
but every year, we're giving
So,
them more money.
the city is giving the school division more money next year, and we are cutting money out of our own, out of our own departments in order to make that happen. 'Cause
This
I hear
year,
that-
the-
'cause
this
I hear
year-
that complaint a lot, and it's, just so that we're clear, is that
This year,
the
the-
city is
this
spending
year-
more money on schools for FY 21, even while we are cutting our own departments.
The
and
only
not- and
thing,
not giving a
we
raise.
are funding the schools for the VRS, just as we are doing for every city department.
Right.
And not anything beyond that.
That is correct, but I'm just saying is we
not
chose
anything beyond
not
that.
to look at the state money and say, we're gonna claw back all the city money because now you have the state money. We let them keep the city money they had and take the extra state money. We could have made a different decision. I'm saying we didn't do that. So they're getting almost $3 million more in operating, even though they're projected with decreases in school enrollment. So I just want people to be clear when I hear people say we need to spend more money on schools.
People to be clear.
Well, we are.
I hear people say. we
And,
need to
you know,
spend
our
more
people
money
are
on
not
schools.
getting a raise.
Well, we are.
And I hear, and I don't know what the official word is, I hear that school division employees are getting a
I
raise.
hear, and I don't know what the official word is.
I
hear
had
that school
heard
division
that
employees are
from
getting a
school
raise.
numbers, so I don't know what the official word is, but
I had heard that.
they were able to move pieces around with the money that they had from each source in order for their employees to get a raise. So, just so that we're clear, when we hear certain things or certain arguments are made in the community and also between the boards, is school board budget is going up almost $2.8 million for next year, and the city's overall budget is going down $1.3 million.
City's overall budget is going down 1.3 million.
And the amount that you quote is, and I want to remind the public that the city is not contributing that. That is state funds.
Right, I'm
And
just
we
reading
have
it.
no control over what the state does.
Right, but we did not say, okay, you're getting state money, we're going to reduce the local contribution dollar for dollar. We didn't do that.
No, we're not clawing back because the schools have requirements. They have SOQ requirements, they have a variety of requirements.
I just, because I'm literally just looking at this sheet that the public would look at, and I want them to understand that that's what we're doing, that we're giving the school divisions getting almost $3 million more dollars.
Well,
from
we're
all
not
sources,
giving them
from
$3 million. The state is giving them. Well, we're not let's be clear. $3 million.
Right, but, we talk about unfunded mandates, we could say, well, if you get more from the state, we're gonna take some of our own money back. And I'm saying is, we didn't do that. We are committed to making sure that they have what they need. But, I've heard, there was an argument from a few months ago about, we need to have raises because the city employees got a raise like 10, 15 years ago, and we didn't.
Have raises because
And,
the city employees got a raise like 10,
we're spending
15
less
years
money and
ago,
our
and we
employees
didn't.
are not getting a raise.
We're spending less money and our employees are not.
Are there
getting a
any
raise.
other questions or comments? Are there any, is there any public comment? Has the public
Are there any?
sent anything in?
Has the public,
No, okay.
Yeah, I just want to
anything
thank
in?
Laszlo for his job on the budget again.
No,
And,
okay.
I mean, even the last minute adjustment where we said no fee increases because our citizens are struggling and going through this pandemic and economic hardships, you made it happen. So just thanks a lot for your hard work on it.
So with that, do we have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
So with
Second.
that, do we have a motion to
All in
close the
favor?
public hearing?
Aye.
So moved.
Second.
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, abstained, motion carries. Public hearing is closed.
All opposed, abstained.
Next,
motion
moving on
carries.
to item
Public hearing
number
is closed.
5. It is
Next,
a
moving
proclamation
on to item
designating
number 5.
June
It is
2020 as
a
LGBTQ Pride
proclamation
Month.
June
Whereas the
2020
city of
as
Manassas Park is a
LGBTQ
welcoming
Pride Month.
community and an exceptional
Whereas
place
the-
to live, learn, work, play, and raise a family. And whereas Manassas Park
learn,
recognizes
work,
the
play,
importance
and-
of equality and freedom from discrimination. And whereas the
Importance of
nation was
equality
founded
and
upon and
freedom
is
from
guided by
discrimination.
a set
And
of
whereas
principles
the
that
nation was
includes
founded
every,
upon and is
that every
guided by
person
a
has
set
been
of
created
principles that
equal,
includes
that each
every-
has rights
that
to their
every
life, liberty, and
person has
pursuit of
been
happiness,
created
and that
equal,
each shall
that
be
each
accorded
has
the
rights
full
to their life,
recognition and
liberty, and
protection
pursuit
of
of
law.
happiness,
And
that each shall be
whereas the
accorded
city
the
of
full
Manassas
recognition
Park's
and protection of
lesbian,
law.
gay,
And
bisexual,
whereas the
transgender,
city
and
of
questioning
Manassas Park's
community
lesbian,
are a vital
gay,
part of
bisexual,
all fields and
transgender,
professions
questioning
and
community
contribute to a
are
stronger
vital
community.
part of all
And
fields
whereas
and
Manassas
professions
Park
and
is
contribute
strengthened
to a
by
stronger
and thrives
community.
upon the
And
rich
whereas
diversity of
Manassas Park
ethnic,
is strengthened
cultural,
by and
racial,
thrives upon
gender, and
the rich
sexual
diversity
identities of its
ethnic,
residents,
cultural,
all of which
racial,
contribute to the
gender,
vibrant
and sexual
character of our
identities
city.
of its residents,
And whereas
all
the
of which
Centers for
contribute to
Disease
the vibrant
Control
character of our
recognizes
city.
that
And whereas
LGBTQ
the
teens
Centers for
are at
Disease
higher
Control
risk to be victims
recognizes
of
that
violence and have
LGBTQ
increased
teens
suicide
are at
rates.
higher risk
And
to be
whereas it is
victims of
imperative
violence
that
and
young
have
people
increased
in the
suicide
community
rates.
regardless of
whereas
sexual
it is
orientation
imperative
or
that
gender
young people in the
identity feel
community,
valued,
regardless
safe,
of sexual
empowered, and
orientation or
supported by their
gender
peers,
identity feel
educators,
valued,
and community
safe,
leaders.
empowered, and
Now
supported
therefore,
by
I,
their
Jeanette
peers,
Rischel, Mayor of the
educators,
City
and
of Manassas
community
Park,
leaders.
Virginia,
Now
and on
therefore,
behalf
I,
of the
Jeanette
Manassas
Rischel,
Park
Mayor of
governing
the City of
body,
Manassas Park,
hereby
Virginia,
proclaim and
on
recognize
behalf
the
of the
month
Manassas
of
Park
June
governing
of every
body,
year as
hereby
Lesbian, Gay,
proclaim and
Bisexual,
recognize the month
Transgender,
of
and
June of
Questioning
every
Pride
year
Month
as
in
Lesbian,
the
Gay,
City of Manassas
Bisexual,
Park, and
Transgender,
urge
and
citizens
Questioning
to
Pride
recognize
Month
the
in the City
contributions
of
made
Manassas Park,
by members of
and
the
urge citizens to
LGBTQ community
recognize the
and to
contributions
actively
made by
promote the
members of the
principles of
LGBTQ
equality and
community
liberty.
and to actively promote
Do I have a
the
motion?
principles of
So moved.
equality and
Second.
liberty.
All in
Do
favor?
I have a motion?
Aye.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Abstained? Motion carries. We have with us this evening, we have with us this evening Mr. Tom Osina from the Equality Prince William Group. I'd like to give you this proclamation, and if you'd like to say a few words to the public at the
I'd like to
microphone.
give you this proclamation, and if you'd like to say a few words to the public at the microphone.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Well, I just want to say, first of all, how pleased I am that, again, Manassas Park is leading the way. You were the first locality in the greater Prince William area to adopt such a resolution and have guided other Manassas, Prince William County to do likewise here. But I do appreciate that you do take time every June to do this. And when I first was prepared to come here, we had a lot to celebrate. For the LGBTQ plus community, we had an exceptional year in the General Assembly, along with the governor signing, for instance, the Virginia Values Act, which really did increase and expand rights for that community here. But we do live in unusual times, and unfortunately, we are overshadowed by what's taking place right now with Black Lives Matter, and more importantly, recognizing that racial discrimination and inequality exists very strongly in this nation. And so as much as I'd like to celebrate, we in the LGBTQ taken a stand and stood up for Black Lives Matter just this past Sunday. Says a lot about your commitment in this city, your leadership, to make this a welcoming and fair community, and more importantly, to address these tough issues that need to be addressed. So on behalf of the LGBTQ community, we thank you very much for that leadership. And I do have, to help you celebrate this month, I'm going to drop off a nice plastic bag, some Pride bands here, wristbands, that I hope that you'll wear throughout the month, and hopefully throughout the year. Let us continue to make sure that all people are treated equally and fairly in this country, calling out injustice wherever we might see it. Thank you so much again for the proclamation.
Thank you. Thank you, Tom. You have a great evening.
Thank you. Thank you, Tom. You have a great evening.
Oh, we each get our own bag. Okay, thank you.
Oh, we each get our own bag. Okay, thank you.
Okay, yes, super.
Thank you, Tom.
Folks who are not here.
Okay, yes, super.
No?
Dean feel left out if you didn't give him one.
No?
Dean, I got an extra if you need it.
Dean, I got an extra.
Is broke.
Who?
Thank you again.
Thank you. Take care, have a wonderful evening.
Thank you again.
Thank you.
Moving on to
care, have a
consent
wonderful
agenda.
evening.
Consent agenda consists of the approval of the minutes of
Moving
May
on to
19th,
consent agenda.
2020.
Consent agenda consists of the
Do we have a
approval of
motion?
the minutes of May 19th,
moved.
2020.
All in favor?
Do we have a
Aye.
motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Abstained, motion carries. Moving on to, we have no unfinished business, moving on to new business. We have no flex spending cafeteria plan, and that would be city manager.
Yep. So this one's pretty straightforward. It's not actual CARES Act money going to our employees or to us. It's really just a regulation within the CARES Act that allows our employees to take advantage of this additional medical benefit for them. All we have to do is administrative. You just need to authorize me to adopt the resolution authorizing me to sign the amendment to allow them to do this.
Adopt the resolution authorizing me to sign the amendment to allow them to do this.
myself out of this because it's the CARES Act related.
Any
Oh, that's
questions or
right.
comments?
I'm going to have to recuse myself
That was
out
some
of
fun
this.
reading.
It's CARES Act related.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
That was some fun reading.
Yes. I'm not reading that resolution.
Yes.
Do you have
I'm
any
not reading that
questions,
resolution.
Councilmember Machado?
Do you have any questions,
Councilmember
Machado?
Sendejas?
No, I don't.
No, thank you.
Councilmember
Councilmember
Sendejas?
No, thank you.
Councilmember Javed?
No, thanks.
Okay, thank you. With that, staff recommendation is that the governing body
Okay,
adopt
thank you.
the attached
With
resolution
that, staff
authorizing
recommendation
the
is that the
city
governing
manager
body
to sign
adopt
the
the
amendment to the
attached
existing
resolution
city
authorizing
cafeteria plan
the city
that
manager
permits
to sign the
employees
amendment
to
to the
seek
existing
reimbursement
city
for
cafeteria
over-the-counter
plan
medical
that
products
permits
without a
employees to
prescription
seek
for
reimbursement
account-based
for
plans
over-the-counter
such
medical
as
products
health
without a
flexible
prescription
saving
for
accounts,
account-based
health
plans
FSAs,
such as
health
health
reimbursement
flexible
arrangements,
saving accounts,
HRAs,
health
and other
FSAs,
accident and
health
health plans,
reimbursement
as well as
arrangements,
to health
HRAs,
savings accounts
and other
in
accident and
accordance
health
with the
plans,
CARES
as
Act.
well as to health savings accounts
Second.
in accordance
All in
with
favor?
the CARES Act.
Aye.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Abstained? Motion carries.
Aye.
All opposed, abstained,
8B,
motion
which
carries.
is Phase 3 City
Moving
Center
on
Comprehensive
to
Agreement.
8B, which
So this
is
weekend,
Phase
for this one as well, I will do a
Comprehensive
presentation that I'll
Agreement.
record. That will show, highlight the end result, kind of what the final deal was, try to highlight how that changed from what was originally submitted, kind of where we're at, give, almost like I did for the public hearing for Phase 3, kind of do an updated one to see what's changed since then, just to give the public and you all an overview. I was hoping to be able to do that by tonight, but some things have pushed that timeline back, but I hope to be able to get to that later this week, as well as working with Dean and the developers to finalize all the exhibits so we can get those to you and the public this weekend as well. So I don't know, Dean, do you have anything else to add for Phase 3? Or?
This weekend as well. So I don't know, Dean, do you have anything else to add for Phase 3? Or?
We're gonna have a special meeting on next Tuesday.
Pick it apart next Tuesday,
So I have
public and for you.
we need to pick it apart next Tuesday.
We'll have all the exhibits.
Public and
We have Chelsea here representing North Scott.
We'll have all the exhibits. We have Chelsea here representing
I can get those out to you as well.
And we'll be covering both Phase 3 and Phase 4 at the work session. Is that correct?
If you would like to, yeah.
Phase 3 and
Absolutely.
Phase 4 at the work
We
session.
can talk about Phase 4
Is that
even
correct?
tonight as well. You
Okay,
can see
yes,
it's,
yeah.
that one's been
We can
made
talk about Phase
available to
4
the
even
public
tonight as
since
well.
the
Right.
May
Yes.
19th
It
meeting.
has been
That one's-
available for a
that
while.
one's
I
been
wasn't
made
sure if there was the
available to the
will to
public
vote on
since
it
the,
this
May
evening or
19th
to,
It
or
has
to
been
wait.
available for a while. I wasn't
That's
sure
up
if
to
there
you
was
all,
the
if
will
you
to
all are
vote on
ready
it this
today
evening
or
to
on the
wait.
16th,
That's up to
preferably
you
by
all
the
if you all
16th
are
with
ready
Phase 3.
today or
It
on
could
the
make sense to vote on them as
16th.
one
Well,
package.
and that's
By
what
the
I meant.
16th
I
with
wasn't
Phase
sure if
3.
there was the will to
It
vote
could
on
make
it this
sense to vote
evening
on them
or
as
to
one
wait.
package.
And that's what I meant. I wasn't sure if there
Okay,
was the will
so
to vote on it this
moving
evening
on
or
to
wait.
8C, which is Phase 4.
Okay, so moving on to 8C, which is Phase 4.
Can you see Don?
Okay.
Can you see, Don?
So for Phase 4, you can see in the agenda item, I really pulled out the sections
in the agenda
of
item,
the agreement that are
I really
kind of the
pulled
fundamental
out the
benefits
sections
and terms that
the
we
agreement that are
we were
kind of the
looking for.
fundamental
Included
benefits
$2.7 million
and
is
terms
kind of
that we
the
were
added
looking for.
financial
So the
benefit. I know we
$2.7 million
discussed
is
further
kind of
how we
the
utilize that
added
money.
financial
Again, remember, the
benefit
goal
that
for this one was
we want to
really
discuss further kind of how we utilize that money. Again, remember the goal for this one was really three phase one, right?
The current parking
One,
is tucked
we
away.
want parking to work
back
for phase
here.
one. The current parking is tucked away back here. There's a snow grid for the actual retail. So this development will move the parking here for the retail. So improve the likelihood of success at least for this end cap for this half of
building a little bit as well to provide that parking solution. Number two, it allows us to work on amending the ground lease with the current owners of the Phase 1 development, now called Park 170 in City Center, in order to do a comprehensive amendment to enable both this development and the development of the Phase 3 project. Number three, it really does clear out an area that was not helpful in contributing to attracting retail to our city area. The developer has been successful in negotiating with the developer on actual successful procurement negotiating with the current owners of properties that still remain to be negotiated. You can see from a total standpoint, the city ends up with actually a little bit more land than what we had right now and a lot more parking in the downtown. And then finally, we do get, once the market allows, and there's a lot of uncertainty right now with COVID-19, with Phase 3, with the anchor coming into the downtown and the garage, those two components with movement on the retail should then make additional commercial investment in downtown viable. That's what that last additional building C, that's why it's phased. In Phase 4, Roman numeral 4, there's Phase 1 building, Phase 2 building, in Phase 4, Roman numeral 4, to allow for the market to set in, because you don't want to overbuild beyond market capability. So other benefit, Connor Drive being brought out to Market Street and then to Manassas Drive as well. That's it, like spelled out in the contract. Again, what I've recommended before was that the $2.7 million plus the tax fees generated from these two buildings. With taking that money, we should be able to acquire these targeted buildings to finally resolve the public works not having a building. Every other department was taken care of. City Hall will theoretically be taken care of in Phase 3, but every single school, fire, police, Parks and Rec, everyone, social services was taken care of except for our public works employees. And the conditions that they work under right now, in my mind, are not right. And this development here will enable us to address that. One of the final remaining major capital liabilities that we have as a city for the city side and even for the schools. If you look at their CIP with the transportation facility requirements that they need, and the maintenance facility requirements, which would then free up additional space for them at the middle school and high school for additional classrooms, or even additional types of classes for different technical training, which they want to pursue. By being able to provide that facility solution, we're dealing with the remaining three facility liabilities that the city has. If City Hall, of course, is addressed with Phase 3, and we're treating our employees more as City Hall. So that's my recommendation for the $2.7 million, but of course, that's ultimately going to be your all's decision. That's my recommendation, how we spend that money, but of course, that's ultimately going to be your all's decision.
Are there any questions related to Phase 4? Are there any yes, Vice Mayor Banks. Related to Phase 4?
So, is there going to be a
Yes,
sidewalk
Vice Mayor
along
Banks.
Manassas Drive in Phase 4?
So, is there going to be a sidewalk along Manassas Drive in
That's
Phase 4?
something, I'm pretty certain it has to follow our current, our PSM would require that, yeah.
Okay.
It has to follow, we'll take a look at that. Yeah, our PSM would require that, yeah.
Okay.
We'll take a look at that.
That's it?
Do you have, that's it? Okay. Councilmember Mensing, do you have a question?
That's it?
Do you have, that's it? Okay. Councilmember Machado, do you have any questions?
No question.
Councilmember Machado, do you have any questions? Sendejas?
I don't have a question, thank you.
Councilmember Sendejas? Councilmember Javed?
I don't have a question, thank you.
Councilmember
Yes,
Javed?
so Phase 4, you're not voting on it today, but this would, Phase 4, I know we're not voting on it today, but this would, for Phase 3, have to be because of the ground lease, voted before we voted on it, because of the ground lease, I guess, how this one works. Because Phase 3 will be viable if Phase 4 is not voted. Because Phase 3 will be viable if Phase 4 is
So the ground lease actually covers, property, city-owned property in both
So the
phase
ground
three
lease
and
actually
phase
covers,
four.
property, city-owned property.
We don't really
in
need to
both
have
phase
phase
three
three or
and
phase four go first or second, although they are,
We don't really need to have phase three or phase
mainly
four go
because
first or second, although they are, it's nice to
ground
go
lease
together.
portion is
Mainly
the
because
back area.
the phase
And
four,
when part
ground
of this
lease
deal
portion
here is we
in the back
essentially are
area.
swapping parking.
And
I mean,
when,
it's not
and part of this
structured
deal
exactly that
here
way,
is
but for all
we
intents and
essentially are
purposes,
swapping
we're taking
parking. I
existing
mean, we're
parking
not
that's not
structured
doing
exactly
anyone
that
any
way, but
good
for all intents and
in the back
purposes,
of
we're
the,
taking
the
existing
existing
parking that's not doing
downtown
anyone
area.
any good.
And we're
in
gonna
the
have
back of
parking
the
right up next to
existing,
that,
downtown area.
original
And we're
buildings
gonna
that
have
will actually
parking
benefit
right up next to that,
downtown area. Okay,
the
now,
original
to do that, we're
buildings
gonna
will
have to get
actually
rid of a
benefit
portion
the
of the
downtown
ground
area.
lease.
Okay, now, to do that, we're gonna have to
ground
get
lease
rid of
areas,
a
you know,
portion
one
of
is
the
the
ground lease.
residential, the other one's for the commercial.
There's two ground lease areas,
back
one
by
is
the
for
Connor House.
residential,
The
and the other
commercial
one's
is
for
the
commercial.
one
The
in front
residential
of
is the one in the
City
back
Hall.
over by the Connor
So
House.
they're
The commercial
separate but
is the one
related
in front of
concepts, the
City
same, but
Hall.
we don't
So
need one of them to go
they're
before the other,
separate but
because they're dealing
related
with different
concepts
parts
the
of the
same, but
ground lease.
we don't need.
And
one
Hasib,
of
just to
them
add,
go
as part of my
dealing with
current
different
negotiations with Hosta Capital, the owners,
just to add, as part of my
remember I did the drone
negotiations with
analysis?
Hosta
There was a
Capital,
very
the owners,
specific reason why I did the drone analysis, because I
remember
wanted
I
to
did the drone
demonstrate,
analysis?
isolate
There
the
was a very
variable before any
specific reason
retail
why I did
goes
the
in there
drone analysis,
about
because
what
I
the
wanted to
actual
demonstrate,
residential parking
isolate the
requirement
variable before
is
any retail goes in there
for not
about
just
what
their
the actual
apartment, but I also looked at our
residential
tenant as
parking
well, because
requirement
they don't have retail in there as
for
well,
not
it's just
their
apartments, so you
apartment,
get
but also
to
looked at our tenant as
actually
well, because
identify how many
they don't have
vehicles,
retail in there as
especially
well,
Sunday
it's just
morning at
apartments,
6
so you
a.m.,
get
which
to-
is the peak
you get to actually
parking time,
identify
how many
vehicles,
parking spaces do
especially
they
Sunday
actually need
morning
for
at 6 a.m.,
residential?
which is the peak
And it's a
parking
lot
time.
less than what's
How many
currently
parking
built out,
spaces
so
do they
with
actually
my
need for
negotiations
residential?
with
And
them,
it's a lot less than
I'm
what's
working on
currently
getting them
built
to
out. So
accept kind of a
with my
less
negotiations
of
with them,
a total parking
I'm
requirement
working
that
on getting
exists
them to
in the
accept
ground
kind of a
lease
less-
to enable
less
us
of
to
a
move off of
total
the
parking
phase 3
requirement that
parking lot
exists in the
requirement, which
ground
is
lease
just supposed to be for
enable us to
retail.
move off of
And
the
that's what I
phase
remind them
3
of. But
parking
there
lot
is no
requirement, which is
retail
just
to be
supposed
had
to be for
without
retail.
both
And that's what I
phases
remind
3
them
and
of.
4
But there
both
is no
happening. So
retail
that's
to be had
this,
without
both phases
both
4 and
phases
3
and 4
improve
both
my
happening.
ability
So
to
that's
negotiate with
this,
Hosta Capital
both
on
phases
amending the
4
ground
and
lease.
3
They're really
improve my
they help
ability to negotiate
as a
with
package
Hosta
deal to
Capital
make
on
this a
amending the
reality.
ground lease. They're really they help as a package deal to make this a reality.
And then, can you talk about, the 1 acre lot that city owns? Can you talk about that being the 1 acre lot that city owns, given away to the developer, or is that
No.
being cash value?
Yeah, so if you, with the initial deal, we get the same acreage back, right, with new parking lot. Actually, with the initial deal, we lose a net 1 acre, which we were reimbursed for. If they're unable to acquire the last 2 pieces, we actually end up getting more acreage out of this that's city-owned than what we currently have right now, and we still get the cash payment. So we're getting the $2.7 million. The reality of that was it's land and proffers, right? The proffers for the residential component. So we're getting that money regardless, and we may either just lose net 1 acre, which remember the acreage that we own right now, it's either ground leased to phase 1, so we really have no control over that land. So there's nothing the city can really do of value with that land. And the other one is the Connor House, which we've determined, we're ready to move on from as a city. But regardless of that, there's a strong likelihood that we may end up with actually more land than what we are putting in, and we still get paid. But yes, the 1 acreage, we're getting about $1 million for that 1 acre.
But yes, the 1 acreage, we're getting about $1 million for that 1 acre of loss.
You also mentioned in your research that the commercial aspect of it will be built the commercial estate aspect of it will be built.
Yes, that's correct, because remember, the goal for this one was never a commercial goal. Any additional commercial we can get is just added benefit. The goal of this phase was the parking to make phase 1 successful, right? What we're hoping, though, when we lock this in to have that be commercial, is that once the town center takes off, once you have a successful town center, you then start having increased appetite for additional commercial development. So we wanted to segment off a piece of this development for when that becomes viable to happen, to be an actual commercial development, whether it's a hotel or other components, unless we have a tenant beforehand. If we bring them a tenant beforehand as well, then it can be developed as an alternative.
Then it can be developed as an alternative.
And on the drawings, there's a drawing for 2 pools. remember in the other phase three, we were trying to put a pool or any community, any phase three residential, trying to put a pool or any community, we want them to come to the residential. Community center to come to the city center. They have authorization, those pooling them within the residence.
I'm not sure we can regulate that. I know from a marketing standpoint, their philosophy is that they actually can yield tenants with the pool. It's kind of a expected amenity now for apartment developments. Dean, I don't know if we're even able to regulate that.
now for apartment developments. Dean, I don't know if we're even able to regulate that.
We would.
Yeah.
It's not in our zoning ordinance. It's not in our zoning ordinance. We have to contractually do that. I can't see them agreeing to do that. We've already got the.
It would be a risk to them.
I don't see how they would be willing to do that.
It would be a risk to them. They
Two over twos.
Phase one
conflicts, I guess. Two over twos.
Phase one has a swimming pool as well. So the original development has a swimming pool.
Yeah, it's really an amenity now for modern day apartments.
Put pools here as well.
Yeah, it's really an amenity now for modern day apartments.
Is that the only two, and then the last question is right now is the only Drive and from Manassas Drive. I guess right now is from Connor Drive, where we have about, correct, and how many residential units about, because from Manassas, how many residential units to get inside?
Well, that's not entirely true, though, Hesty, because they're going to be able to access the existing. Well, that's not entirely true, though, Hesty, because they're.
Plus the Connor Drive as well. And in reality, if you go to that road, like right now, you can turn out left as well. I mean, it depends on the time of day.
Like right now.
But there are, most of the day, you can actually turn left out there as well.
But there are, most of the day, you can actually turn left out there as well.
We can just not enforce it.
We can just not enforce it.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions?
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Any other comments or questions?
I'm going to just quickly state that I just don't think that, I know we're trying to fix phase one, and I just don't think it's fixable.
I know we're trying to fix phase one, and I just don't think it's
not going to fix
fixable.
itself. We're going to be.
I think we're going to build this
in the
parking
same
lot.
spot we are right now.
And it's not going to fix itself. We're going to be in the same spot we are right now with phase one.
Okay, let me get a sense of what the governing body would like to do.
Okay,
Would you like to vote on this
Let me get a sense
evening?
of what the governing body would like to do.
hold off the
Would you
vote
like to vote on
until
this
the
evening?
16th?
Or would you like to hold off
is
the
your
vote
wish?
until the 16th?
16.
Either way.
What is your
Or
wish?
16.
You want 16? Yes, 16.
Either way.
Folks at home, what
You
is
want
your
16?
preference?
16.
Either way.
Folks at home, what is your preference?
Either way.
Either way.
Either
Yeah,
way.
I'm going with the 16th.
Okay, 16.
Yeah, I'm
Thank
going
you.
with the 16th.
Thank you.
And then, are you going to want to talk about it then next week?
Yeah,
as well?
thank you. Thank you.
I would think that there might be some questions. There might be.
I would think that there might be some questions.
Just to be on the safe side.
Phase three and phase four.
Yeah.
agreements.
Yeah,
Okay.
just to be on the safe side.
Moving on to CARES Act
Okay.
budget request.
Moving on to CARES
Which is
Act budget
8D, and
request.
thanks to City Manager for sending a
Which
guidance
is
request to the
8D,
Department of
and
Accounts.
thanks to City
Despite the
Manager for
vague
sending
answer,
a
the city
guidance
has
request to
performed
the
its due
Department of Accounts.
diligence.
Despite the vague answer,
Madam
the
Mayor, I'm
city
gonna have to
has
recuse
performed
myself
its
out of this
due
discussion.
diligence.
Absolutely.
Madam Mayor, I'm going to have to recuse myself out of this discussion.
Absolutely.
Give me all 1 second, because I'm opening up the PowerPoint and the computer very slowly.
So this is just the exact same that we already talked about, right? That they were in the same categories that we already discussed before.
We already talked about, right? That they were in the same
pretty
categories that
basic.
we already discussed before.
Yeah. It's pretty basic.
I guess since, so,
Is,
I don't know, since
I guess
I'm
since,
clear, I mean, do we have to decide
since I'm
tonight, or?
So I'm clear, I mean,
like,
are we,
for instance, how
do we
much
have to
money we want to
decide
put in each category?
tonight, or
Like how much
about,
each
like, for
business,
instance,
like
how
we're
much money we
targeting
want to
some
put in each
business,
category? like how much each business, like we were targeting someone for business.
Saving businesses that were at risk
I don't know.
because they lost
Save-
sales
I
or
don't
they
know
lost
what you
revenue.
wanna call it, saving
because they were forced
businesses
to be
that were at
closed
risk
and
because they
different
lost
forms of
sales or they lost
utility and
revenue,
rental and
because they were
mortgage
forced to be closed, and
assistance
different
for
forms of
people that were
utility
at
and
threat of
rental and mortgage
being foreclosed on, or
assistance for people that were at threat of being
evicted.
foreclosed on,
Do we need to
or
make those decisions tonight,
being evicted. I mean, do we need to make those decisions tonight, or?
I have a next steps slide.
We have to make a decision by the time we're ready to vote.
We have to make a decision by the time you're ready to vote on
It's really
FY
those two
20
budgets
too,
that are gonna
and
dictate how
FY
we spend this
21
money.
budget. Because
This
it's
is
really
just a plan
those two budgets
for you all to
that are
kind of
gonna
let me know
dictate
what
how
the
we
final
spend this
numbers
money.
are
This
that
is
you
just a
want
plan
for me to
for you all
utilize,
to
and then
kind of let me know what the final numbers are that you want for me to utilize, and
I'm
then I
sure
plug those
Steve
into
can speak circles around me on this one, but particularly on
And I'm sure
foreclosures.
that Steve can
you know,
speak
we
circles
may not
around me
know
on
right
this one, but
away.
particularly on foreclosures,
right now,
you know,
they may
we
be
may
in
not know right
forbearance for
away.
3 or 4 or
If
5
people are in
months.
forbearance right
And they-
now,
and what
they may
what
be in
may
forbearance
happen
for
is
3 or
that
4 or 5 months.
People are in forbearance, come out of
and
forbearance.
what may
and depending
happen
on how
is
it's
that
structured, some of these
people in
forbearances, they
forbearance
require
come
a
out
lump
of
sum payment
forbearance,
of all
and depending on
payments that
how it's
were
structured,
in
some of these forbearances, they
Some of
require a
them,
lump
they'll
sum
divide
payment
it up
of all
on-
payments that were in
like
forbearance.
say like 12
And
payments
some of
maybe,
them
or
they'll divide it up.
maybe the next
on-
year they chunk up
like say
however
like
much
12
money that
payments
they didn't
maybe, or
pay,
you know,
and
maybe
they
the next
do the
year they
regular
have,
payment
they
plus
chunk
the
up
12th
however
of
much
whatever
money
they-
that they didn't
whatever
pay,
they missed
and they
paying.
do the regular payment plus the 12th of whatever they,
Some may be added
whatever
to
they
the
missed
end, which
paying.
most people assume that happens, but
You
a
know,
lot of these banks
some may be added
are
to the end, which most
structuring
people
them
assume that
very
happens, but
differently, and so
a
you
lot of
really
these
have to read
banks
the fine
are
print.
structuring
And so
them very differently, and so you really have to
my
read the fine
concern is, I
print.
guess, in terms
And
of
so
our place in this, is
part
that
of my
if we're targeting
my
some of the
concern
money
is, I guess,
for,
in terms of
you know,
our place
foreclosure
in this, is
assistance,
that
like we
if
don't
we're
want people to lose
targeting
their
some of the
houses
money
because they were
for
unemployed,
you know,
or
foreclosure
their
assistance,
business
like
was
we
forced
don't
to
want
be
people to lose their
closed
houses
due to
because they were unemployed, or
due to the
their business was forced to be closed
order.
due to the,
you know, we may not know right
due
away.
to the
Like, we may not
mandatory
know by December
order.
31st.
You know, we may not
who
know
those
right
people are
away,
because
like
foreclosure
we may not
takes
know
a
by
while.
December 31st.
So by the time they come
who
up
those
in August
people
or
are,
September
because
and they need to
foreclosure takes a
restart
while.
payments,
So by the time they come up
they're
in August
not
or
working,
September and they
or
need to
they're
restart
working, but
payments,
for reduced amount of
and
money,
they're
salary,
not working,
you know,
or they're
it will
working
take
but
them a
for
while
reduced
to
amount of
get
money and
behind.
salary,
And then
you
by
know,
the time
it
the
will take
lender
them a
initiates
while to
foreclosure
get
process,
behind.
you know, it
And
could
then by the
easily
time
be
the
into
lender initiates
calendar
a
year
foreclosure
2021
process,
before
you know, it
some of
could
those
easily
people
be
wave
into calendar year 2021
you know,
before
there's a threat
some
of
of
an
those
auction,
people
your house
wave
is going to
into.
foreclosure, you've got the certified
There's,
mail.
you know,
So I
there's
guess
a
my
threat of an
question
auction,
is
your house is
that,
going to foreclosure, you've got the
on that
certified mail.
piece of it,
So I guess my question
what
is
is the
that,
anticipated timeline
on
in
that
if we
piece
put
of it,
money in that spot?
what is the anticipated timeline?
Is it going to be
in
effective?
if we put money in
is
that
it going to be in
spot?
the correct timeline in the correct
Is it going to
budget
be
year
effective?
to actually
Is it going to
make a
be in the
difference?
correct timeline, in the correct budget
so
year
the plan,
to actually
for
make a
this program
difference?
specifically is
Yeah, so the plan for this program
utility
specifically
support,
is for
but there has to be a
mortgage
demonstrable
and
loss
utility
of income,
support.
right? So not everyone
But there has to be a
who's on
demonstrable
unemployment
loss of
is
income,
less than
right?
what
So
they
not
were
everyone
when they
who's
were
on
working,
unemployment right now
right?
is necessarily
Clearly, some people
less
are.
than what they were
They
when
have
they
jobs
were working,
and we're paying more
right?
than what they were getting.
Clearly, some people
So
are.
Randy's
They have
department
jobs
was
that
nonprofits
were
that
paying more than what they were getting from
we had to
unemployment. So
distinguish that. If
Randy's
someone's
department
having
was nonprofits that were
keeping up with
working
the mortgage, even though
and
they're on
have to
forbearance
distinguish
right
that
now.
when someone's having
technically we still have to
difficulty
make
keeping up with the
payments
mortgage,
and
you know, they're on
do so
forbearance right
now.
now.
We can still give them
Technically, we
help
still
so
want to
that
make
when
payments, and if they're
the
unable to
period
do so right
ends,
now, we can
they
still give them
now
that
they
help
have
so that
less
when
of amount
the
to
period
decline
ends,
right?
they
So we're gonna
can,
provide-
now they have a
they're not
less
gonna
of
be able to pay
amount to decline
for everything.
to deal
It's
with.
just, think of it
Right,
as
so we're gonna
another
provide,
stipend.
and we're not gonna be able to pay
assistance, but
for everything.
there's no
It's
way
just,
we
think
can
of
cover
it
it
as
all
another stipend,
unless
it's
we
just
select,
it's an
unless
assistance,
we
but there's no way we can cover it all unless we select, unless we only have a handful, right, of people who actually qualify, and we budget a certain amount, and then we have a ton left over, and we're getting close to December, we may just want to help them completely get out of their mess if they were demonstratively impacted by this. This funding is specifically for COVID-19 impact. So people who were having issues before, this money is not technically there to support them, right? Just general income issues, right? For people who are in poverty, this funding was not specifically provided, developed and provided to address that. It was specifically provided to help people with demonstrable impacts directly by COVID-19. They were furloughed by COVID-19, they lost their job, whatever it is, they have to demonstrate somehow that that's the reason why they're struggling to make payments, and
There's going to
not
be
that
some help
this was just
for
an
them, even
ongoing
if
issue
they
before.
don't have to make payments right now.
So
It's probably smart
there's going to be
that
some help for them, even if they don't have to make payments right now. It's probably smart that they do, and we're going to help them make some of that as well, so they don't have that big of a hill to
that
climb.
we could, I guess I'm concerned.
Proactively, I guess, would be the right word.
That we could,
I'm gonna hand Jeanette money
proactively, I guess, would be the right
for a
word.
bill that she doesn't have to pay
I'm
right
gonna
now.
hand Jeanette money
You know, so they're not,
for a
they're
bill
not
that she doesn't have
behind.
to pay right now.
And they're not required by their lender to make payments.
So they're not behind.
And so,
And they're not required by their lender to make payments.
right, but we're handing them money
And so,
But eventually they're going to
for a bill that doesn't exist
right,
yet.
but we're handing them money
I understand your point,
for a bill that
but
doesn't
I feel
exist
like
yet.
the reality is that
I understand your point.
we could be in a situation
But I feel like the
where
reality is that
could
we
be helping
that
people that don't
we
need
could be in
help
a situation where
because we've given them money before.
we could be helping people
we
that
know
don't
if
need
they're-
help.
I mean, this is
Because
supposed
we've
to
given
be
them money
for,
before. We know if they're.
you know,
I mean, this is
it's
supposed to be for.
well, it says struggling to pay rent and utilities.
you
It doesn't say
know,
mortgage. Actually,
it's
this,
supposed
this,
to be-
this one doesn't say
Well, it
mortgage
says
at all.
struggling to pay
So
rent
maybe
and
I.
utilities.
But
Doesn't say
we have
mortgage.
that-
Actually,
that is
this
right.
one doesn't
But I
say
mean,
mortgage at all.
what is the
So
point?
maybe
Like,
But no, we
do
have that.
they need to
That
get
is-
behind
so-
before we
But I
can
mean,
give them
does,
the money?
what is the point? Like, do they
Or
need
are
to
we
get
willing
behind
to-
before we can give them the money?
If, let's say they have a COVID-19
So-
Or are we
related
willing to?
job loss or
If,
income
let's say they
disruption,
have a COVID-19
that we're gonna cut the
related
check to the
job
mortgage
loss
company and not
or
to
income
them.
disruption,
There's no
that we're
exact
gonna cut the
science
check to the
but
mortgage
remember
company and
the
not to them.
stimulus checks that everybody got?
There's no
That
exact
maybe not
science for
everyone
this, but remember the
Right, view
stimulus
this as an
checks that everybody
extension of
got,
that,
that maybe not everyone needed. View this as an extension of that, but with additional dialogue between the social services agency and the person who
So this
who
is
has
an actual
demonstrated
better
that
version
they've
of
actually
that
had some
stimulus
income
check.
loss,
It's actually going
right?
to
So
help
this is
them
an
regardless
actual
of
better
whether,
version
you know,
of that
they end up
stimulus
figuring
check.
out
It's
how to
actually
do it.
going
It's
to help them regardless of
helping them
whether
get to
they
that
end
point,
up figuring
because they
out how to
actually
do
were
it.
directly
It's
impacted.
helping,
The
it's
stimulus
helping
check
them
just
get to
went out
that
in
point,
general
because they
to
actually
everyone,
were
regardless of
directly
whether they
impacted,
needed it or
whereas the
not.
stimulus check
This one
was
is
went out
actually
in
more
general
targeted
to
effort
everyone,
to really
regardless of
help
whether they
someone who
needed
had
it
a
or not.
demonstrated
This
loss.
one is actually a more targeted effort to really help someone who had a demonstrated loss of income,
That's all
even
we're
with
trying to
unemployment
accomplish.
insurance or whatever
I get
it
your
was,
point.
they had a
There's never a
demonstrable
perfect
loss.
way
That's
to
all we're
manage
trying to
these
accomplish.
benefit
I get your
programs.
point,
Ensure
there's
that
never a
they really
perfect
go
way
towards
to manage
absolute
these benefit programs,
It's
to ensure that they
just us
really, really
making our
go
best effort
towards
without
absolute
having all the
actually
information. With the
needs
timing
it. It's
restraints
just
and
us
constraints that
making
you
our
talked
best
about, right?
effort
We had to
without
spend this
having all the
before
information,
December.
with the
So we
timing
have to make
restraints,
the
constraints that
best
you
out
talked
of the
about,
worst
right? So we had to spend this before December.
We have to
So
make
we
the most
have to make
calculated
the
decision
best out of
for
the
how to
worst
best
two
help
options
out
that we have.
our
We have to make the
residents
most
who
calculated
can
decision
demonstrate that they had
for
some
how to
impact,
best
like our
help
businesses,
out
right?
our residents
They had some
who
negative
can demonstrate that
impacts.
they had some impact, just like our
This is kind of
businesses, right?
that
So
stimulus
they
check
demonstrate that
part
they had
two
some
or the
negative
PPP
impacts.
program, what
This is
directly
kind
to
of
people
that stimulus check
can
part
more clearly
two, or
demonstrate.
the PPP program,
Are
but
we
directly to
allowed,
people who can more clearly
to
demonstrate.
limit it to
Are we allowed
primary residents
to limit it to
versus I own
primary
6 houses
residents?
and I lost my job and I got behind on 3 of them,
versus
but I don't
own
live in
6
any of them.
houses and I lost
mean,
my
like,
job and I got
my
behind on
primary
3 of
residence,
them,
your
but I don't live in any of
residence,
them.
or your
I
primary
mean, like
rental.
my
that's-
primary residence, your primary residence,
Can
or your
we- are
primary
we allowed
rental,
to limit
if
it to
that's
primary
if your
residents?
rent support. Are we allowed to limit it to primary residents?
So that's a,
I think we can design this program just as long as we can justify it, so that's a regulation that the governing body sets upon us.
Right, I
don't
mean,
think
and I think that's what the,
Because
I
your
think
goal
that's
is
the
to help
idea
people
of what
So,
this
so
program's
if,
about.
if I can
Right, and I
interject,
think
you're,
that's
you're
what
saying
the-
primary
I think that's
residence
the
as
idea
opposed
of
to
what
say
this
someone who has a
program's
beach
If I can
house in
interject,
addition to their
you're saying
primary
We don't
primary
have any water
residence
for
as
our
opposed
property
to
here,
say
but yeah,
someone
I
who has a
mean,
beach
but in the
house
sense
in
that it's
addition.
In
investor
Ocean
owned.
City.
We don't have any water
Right.
for our property
Or that
here, but
it's,
yeah, I mean,
or
but
that
in the
people
sense
have
that it's
investment
In
investment
Ocean
property.
City.
Or right,
You know.
You know,
or that it's,
I mean, now, that's
or
my
that
thinking
people
is
have
I own
investment
3
property.
houses that I get rental
You know,
income in,
I mean,
and I
that's
lost
my
rental
thinking is
income
I own
because
3
my renter
houses
didn't pay.
that I get rental
and so I
income
can't pay my
and I lost
mortgage,
rental
but
income
It's not
because
their
my renter
primary-
didn't pay,
I mean, I just.
and so I can't pay my
just kinda
mortgage,
target the
but
program
that's not their
to
primary,
people
primary,
that
I mean, I
that's
just,
their primary
to kind of target the program to people that, that's their primary residence.
They're gonna get evicted if.
Well, but we're doing the rental, we're doing the rental part of it
You're saying
too.
for, if they had a investment
Well, but we're
property.
doing the rental, we're doing the rental part of it too.
If they had an investment property, that program supported, or an investment property, then those tenants would have to be forced to vacate. or with
Well,
the
no,
properties
they
that
would
those tenants
qualify
would
as
have
needing
to
rent
be forced to
support,
vacate.
because that's their primary
Well, no,
residence.
they would qualify as needing rent support because that's their primary
I think
residence.
what the city was saying is if the owner loses the property because they can't make a mortgage payment, they lose it and the bank
Is that what you're
takes
saying,
over.
Steve?
The people currently renting.
Yeah, exactly, because you're
Is that
saying
what
only
you're
to
saying,
provide support for their primary residence.
Just to be
Yeah,
clear.
exactly, because the renter can't pay, the homeowner can't pay on their primary residence. That's property, then what's gonna happen to the homeowner can't pay on their property, then what's gonna happen to the tenant?
Well, the renter.
We would give the money to the renter, and the renter, because what we don't want is the
So we
person
would
who
give the
owns
money to the
investment
renter, and
property
the
to get
renter,
help.
because what we don't
with
want is the
paying their
person
mortgage,
who owns
that throws the
investment
tenant out
property to
because
get
the
help
tenant can't afford to
with
pay rent.
Or you
paying
don't
their
want them
mortgage,
double
but
dipping.
throws the tenant out because the tenant can't
maybe,
afford
but
to
I
pay
mean-
rent.
Or you don't want them double dipping.
That's why,
Yeah,
Right,
maybe, but I mean,
you definitely, you don't want the person who owns the house to be current on the
I
mortgage
mean,
because
but
they
you
got help,
definitely,
and
you
the
don't want the
tenant did
person
not.
who owns the house
And
to
so,
be current on the mortgage
you know,
because they got
then the
help, and the
tenant is
tenant
being
did not.
evicted,
And
but
so,
the person who owns the
you know,
house
then
owns
the
the house and
tenant
they
is
just
being
rerun it.
evicted, but the person
I
who owns
guess
the
I'm just
house owns
concerned
the
that
house and they just
we
rerun
kind
it.
of focus and we channel the money in
I
the
guess
most
I'm just
efficient way
concerned
to
that
the
we,
people that
that
need
we
it the
kind of
most.
focus and we channel the
You know, I
money
got
in
a
the most
stimulus
efficient way
card
to
the
the
other day
people
in
that
the mail.
need
I
it the
don't need it.
most.
I work full time. I
You know,
didn't
I got a
have-
stimulus
I mean, I'll
card
take
the
it
other
if
day
you're
in the
gonna give
mail.
it to
I
me,
don't
but
need it.
I
I
didn't
work full time. I didn't
have lost
I mean, I'll
income.
take
I
it if you're gonna give it to
you
me,
know,
but
I didn't have job
I didn't
interruption or
have
pay
lost
interruption.
income. I didn't,
So,
you know,
I'm just
I
trying
didn't
to
have
make sure that
job
we use these
interruption
funds
or
for
pay interruption.
the people that
So
need it the most.
I'm just trying to make sure that we
because,
use
you know,
these funds for
especially we
the,
have
the
houses
people that
with-
need it the
with
most
large
because,
families or
you
two
know,
families, and so an
especially we have
eviction could
houses
be
with
two families are
with large
evicted.
families or two
And so
families, and
that's
so an
really, really
eviction could be
consequential as
two
we,
families are
you know,
evicted.
We look at
And so
stability
that's
of our
really, really
neighborhoods, and also
consequential
the
as we,
stability of our
you
home
know,
values, because
as we look at stability
you
of our
know, lots of
neighborhoods
empty rentals
and also the
means that
stability of our home
the value of
values
each house will go
because,
down and
you know,
affects the other
lots of
houses
empty
in the same
rentals means
neighborhood
that
too,
the,
so that will
the
hurt
value
us
of
in
each house will go down
FY22
and affects the other
with house
houses in the
values
same
and real
neighborhood
estate
too.
tax.
So that will hurt us in FY22 with house values and real estate tax.
Others are taking much more.
No, I think you guys can probably have regulations.
Income levels.
Others are taking a much more broad view
You know,
of
is
this.
it a direct
Just looking at
reflection
income
of
levels,
COVID-19?
which to me is a
As
direct
long as we're
impact.
constraining
Is
it, but keeping
a direct
people to
reflection
all
of
fit
COVID-19.
within that
As
category,
long as we're
category
constraining it, but
that's
keeping the people to all who
should be fine.
fit within that category, and that
That would be the
category
concern
isn't
if we
seen as
set up
discriminatory.
some kind of constraint
we should
where
be
it ends
fine.
up discriminating
I
against a
think that would be the
certain class.
concern if we set
That
up
would
some
be
kind of
the
constraint
concern
where it ends up
for us constraining
discriminating
that,
against a certain
certainly
class of
defining
people.
it as primary
That would be
resident, well, that's
a
open
concern
everyone
for us
for
constraining
their
that,
primary
but
residence.
strictly defining it as primary
I
resident.
mean,
well, that's
maybe I'm
open
the
everyone
minority, but I
for their
just feel
primary
like
residence.
that's important that we.
I mean, maybe I'm the minority, but I just
that we
feel
channel
like
it so we can help
it's,
the most
that's
families.
important that we, that we channel it so we can help the
Let
most
me
families.
say one thing.
Yes,
You guys want to decide that?
Yes, so say one thing, forbearance was brought up.
yes.
So at the end of the forbearance period, the mortgage lender can ask for, at the end of the forbearance period, balloon payment, right? The mortgage lender all the missed payments that you missed in those 3 to 4 months, payments, right? You potentially ask for all the missed payments that you missed in those 3 to 4 months. If they cannot pay those payments upfront, they might be able to put it back in the loan. If they cannot pay the mortgage, then they might be able to put it back in the loan. But then they increase the mortgage will probably get increased because of those missed payments. So either way, they'll be struggling too. Just because they got forbearance doesn't mean that they're not making payments. Struggling too. And either with the balloon payment or increase, they're not making payment. They're gonna get their mortgage either with the balloon payment or increased monthly payment.
I'm also concerned though that the balloon payment or the forbearance period could
I'm also concerned though
extend
that
beyond
the balloon
December
payment or the
31st,
forbearance
too.
period
In a perfect world, we'd have
could
more
extend
time. We'd
beyond
have more time
December
to,
31st
you know,
too. In
kind
a
of
perfect world, we'd
stabilize
have more
everybody, and if there
time.
were
We'd have
issues
more time to
in January or
you know,
February 21.
kind of stabilize
we would have
everybody,
money,
and if
but
there
we
were
don't
issues
because
in January or
restrictions of this
February
program
21,
don't allow us
we
to
would have
kind
money,
of wait
but
it
we
out
don't
to make
because
sure that
the restrictions
the
of this
people in the
program don't
forbearance
allow us to
periods,
kind of wait it out
and
to
they hit
make
the
sure
balloon
that
period, or
the
they
people in
hit
the
a
forbearance
increased payment
periods
because they've now
and they hit the balloon period, or they hit
imagine,
a
in this
increased
area, if you have a
payment because they've now
$2,000 mortgage
divided the,
and
you
you
know,
miss 3 or
imagine,
4
I mean, you know, in in this area, if you have a $2,000 mortgage, and you miss 3 or 4 payments,
You could have
that's
somebody
$8,000 that you need to come up with, plus the current month. You could have somebody that would have
I
to
don't
make
know
a balloon
anybody
payment of
in this
$8,000 or
room that could come up with
$10,000.
that amount of money in 1
I mean,
month.
I don't know anybody of us in this room that could come up with that amount of money in
Yes,
1 month.
yes.
Randy, do you have anything to add?
Yes, I'm here, I've been
Yes,
listening.
yes.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, I'm here. I've been listening.
Our
Can you hear me?
department went back and forth, thought long and hard about how we can make sure that the plan we put in place will allow for the most citizens in Manassas Park to be served, and
to be served.
have a plan in place that if when this starts going, funds are being utilized as less, to be able to have the ability to increase the amount or perhaps let people get a second wave of help. So these are all things that we've thought of. Laszlo mentioned earlier that there are other nonprofits in the area that have assistance. So we definitely will be able to refer people to other resources as well. You are right though, I mean, an $8,000 mortgage payment that could be backlogged could be well out of reach, but sometimes talking to a vendor and making a pledge, letting them know that this individual is truly in need, and is working out a plan. A lot of individuals right now are receiving the unemployment check, which includes the stimulus amount. The stimulus is an additional $600 a week in addition to the maximum $347 a week. So we're really hopeful right now that individuals are able to make some type of payment on their bills. Having our SNAP available to our citizens, our food hotline, hopefully money was saved to go towards more restricted bills. When things pick back up, the amount that we can contribute gets them over that hurdle to be back in work and back in their new norm.
Over that hurdle to be back in work and back in their
May I
new
ask
norm.
Randy a question?
Yes.
Hey, Randy.
Thank you, Randy.
I don't know if she can hear me.
Thank you.
May I
Yes,
ask Randy a question?
Yes.
Do you recommend or not
Randy?
recommend
I don't know if she can hear me.
Yes,
a maximum
Do you
dollar
recommend
amount
or not recommend
per person or per family?
a maximum dollar amount
right now,
per person
I
or
think
per
that
family?
recommending a maximum rate is necessary because we truly do not know what the need is going to be, and I think it's important to help as many citizens as we can,
And I think it's important to
only
help
helping
as
a
many
handful.
citizens as we
I
can,
also want to point out that
only
our
helping a
department does have
handful.
access
I also want to
to
point out that
systems
our
enable us to
department does
check
have access
orders,
to
which will
systems that
reflect
enable us to
incomes and
check
whatnot. So
orders,
we're really going to do our
which will
due
reflect
diligence to
incomes
ensure
and
that
whatnot.
this
So,
money is
we're really going to do our
helping
due
those that
diligence
truly
to
need
ensure
help,
that this money is helping
anyone in the
those
community.
that
It
truly
doesn't
need
matter
help.
regardless of
And,
age, sex, race, religion. We're going to ensure that
it doesn't matter
our community is
regardless of
taken
age,
care of.
sex, race, religion. We're going to
With their
ensure that
utility and their
our
rent. We're going to do our
community is
best
taken
to
care
help
of,
as many as we can.
with their utility and their rent. We're going to do our best to help as many as we
Home equity
can.
loans or home equity
Does,
lines of
does
credit
this
as
money
well?
include home equity
Not
loans
just
or
first
home equity lines
mortgages.
of
Are
credit
there
as well?
restrictions in place from the federal government?
Not just first mortgages, are there restrictions in place from the federal government?
Are very vague, and they're just leaving
Portion
it
of
up
the
to
federal
each
government
jurisdiction.
guidelines are
I hope they can take that
very
into account
vague,
when they
and
perform
they're
the
just leaving it
audits.
up to each
About that lack of
jurisdiction.
clarity.
I hope they can take that into account when they
As long as we meet their
about that lack
intent.
of clarity.
I
I
think
think the goal
should be
for them
fine.
is,
Randy,
as long as we meet their intent.
Well, I was just going to say, we're going to kind of follow some of the other state and federal programs that we need verification forms for, which would include a mortgage statement,
verification forms for which would
a
include
rental agreement, a lease agreement, a notarized statement from
rental
the
agreement,
landlord if you rent a room. So, various documents that we can verify that, for one, that they're a Manassas Park resident,
we can verify that,
to make sure we're serving our community.
Manassas
As
Park
far as
residents, most importantly, to make sure we're serving our
that you
community.
just mentioned,
As far as
we didn't take that into account. We're strictly looking at rent, mortgage, lease.
We didn't take that into
and,
account. We're
room
strictly
rental
looking at
and
rent,
utilities.
mortgage, lease, and room rental and utilities.
I think the goal for them was to help people understand homeless. So I think whatever's needed
Yeah.
for that, if we're doing that, I think
so.
we're meeting that.
Questions?
Okay.
Councilmember Machado, do you have any questions?
Councilmember Machado, do you have any questions?
Hi, how are you? I'm doing fine.
Yes.
Randy,
Hi, how are you?
Your department has assisted Manassas Park residents already with the rent? Manassas Park
Yes, we do. We have in previous fiscal years had a very limited amount of what we call local-only emergency funding. Very limited amount of what we call we have an application. We have the individual meet with we have an application. An intake worker. We ask that they also call other nonprofit organizations to see if they're able to get pledges from them as well to help out. We're really going to follow the outline that we've used in the past that seemed to work. We're really going to follow the outline that we've used in the past that seemed to work.
Will that be every month, or do you have a limit? Will that be every month?
We like to make the payment directly to the vendor. And it's typically a one-time payment. Up to a maximum amount. And again, if we see that the funding that's allocated isn't being utilized, if we see that we could increase the maximum amount limit, we could perhaps help somebody more than one time. We're just going to tread water at the beginning, take things slow to make sure that we have a grasp on what the needs in the community are. And if we need to make changes, bring that back to Laszlo if needed, bring it back to the governing body if needed. Bring that back to Laszlo if needed, bring it back to the governing body if needed. That's how we have it set up right now.
Resident is struggling with paying the rent. Resident is struggling with paying the rent. Contact directly to DSS, Department of Social Services. They should contact directly to DSS, Department of Social Services.
Once this is approved, we're going to get some flyers put on social media that will have that the community can follow. And yes, one is will include calling our main number and yes, one is assistance. We're working on an application. We're actually working on the application being online. We're working on an application. We're actually working on the application being online. We want to make sure that we're still COVID and social distancing. We want to make sure that we're still. So there's going to be a few ways that an individual can apply. But helping citizens. So there's going to be a few ways that an individual can apply. Yeah.
Thank you, Randy. Councilmember Sendejas, do you have any questions? Thank you, Randy. Councilmember Sendejas, do you have any questions or comments?
Your support for our community. Regarding nonprofit or community, are there nonprofits that have a limited budget to support renters that they're rent, or have you seen organizations going to the nonprofits to sustain more donations going to the nonprofits to sustain the
so right now we're seeing both. We're seeing nonprofits such as ACT and Northern Virginia Family Service continue their same services, which is ACT and Northern Virginia Family Service utilities, their rent services, which is we're also seeing a lot of grants being pushed out that different agencies are applying for to get COVID funding from other sources than the CARES Act. So I do think we're going to see other sources than the CARES Act, additional programs that are going to be available to the greater Prince William area to include that are going to be available to the greater Prince William area to include Manassas.
Do you also assist residents with budgeting? Do you also make sure that there's with additional assistance for them? Make sure how to budget when it comes to additional food or clothing, or make sure how to budget miscellaneous clothing or miscellaneous.
So the application that we previously used for our emergency assistance did have a 3-month budget plan, but considering that some of these individuals may only be in this situation for a brief period of time because they're receiving unemployment, let's say because their job hasn't started back up yet, we omitted that. However, when we're conducting the intake and we see a need or someone expresses a need, conducting the intake and we see a need or someone, Virginia, I'm drawing a blank right now.
Employment Commission.
Virginia, I'm drawing a blank right now. No, it's the Prince William County
Employment Commission?
Yeah, it's the, oh my goodness, I'm sorry, I'll have to get back to you. They have a budget, oh my goodness, I'm sorry, I'll have to get back to you. Offer, and I think cooperative extension, that's what it is, Virginia Cooperative Extension, and I think they offer a free budgeting class. And I see flyers recently pushed out that they moved their classes to online and teleclasses. So we will definitely have that as a referral reference to hand to individuals that express that this could be, a long-term issue for them. Express that this could be, a long-term issue for them.
Thank you, Randy.
I have one-
Councilmember Javed, do you have a question? Thank you, Randy.
I have one-
Councilmember Javed, do you have a
Yeah,
question?
I just have one thing. Did we ever find out about if we could pay for the water? Did we ever find out about if we could pay for the water
Clear
utility?
answer from the state, so I
Yeah,
do think
there
the
was
mayor raised a
never
good point that it is
clear
a
answer from
conflict
the
of
state,
interest for us.
so I do
Since
think
it would be
the mayor raised a good point
enemy
that it
revenue
is
that
a
goes
conflict
back
of
to us.
interest for us.
So it's probably
Since
better
it
that
would
we
be
stay away from that
enemy
by
revenue
helping
that goes
people
back
with
to
their
us.
rent, their
So
mortgage,
it's probably
or
better that we stay away from
electrical
that
bill,
by helping
past
people
due
with their
gas
rent,
bills
their
during this
mortgage,
time.
or
We're still helping them
electrical
out,
bill
which
and
department
past
then
due
help
gas
them,
bill during this
get
time.
everything in
We're
order.
still helping them out.
Stay
Yeah,
on water
department then help them,
I would recommend we don't do that simply because we just don't have a clear answer from the state.
I would recommend we don't do that simply because we
The
just don't have
literature was
a clear answer from
the
state or
literature
federal
was
government.
pretty specific that the locality itself
literature
could
was
not
pretty-
benefit.
The literature was pretty specific that the locality
Yeah, I
itself could
remember.
not benefit.
Any other?
If we give them stimulus checks,
Any other-
then what if they use
Yeah,
the water
any
water
other-
bill? If we give them stimulus checks,
We're not
then
giving
what if they
stimulus
use
checks.
the water water bill?
We're gonna pay the vendor directly.
We're not giving stimulus checks to anybody. We're gonna pay the vendor directly.
Do you have a follow-up, Hasib?
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you.
Do you have a follow-up,
Okay,
Hasib?
thank you.
I had one more question for Randy.
No, that was it.
I
Okay,
saw
thank
that
you.
Prince
I
William
had one more
County
question
is
for Randy.
administering funds for them
I saw
and the two
that
cities.
Prince
Is
William
that through the
County
CARES
is
Act? I
administering
think it was
funds
through
for them
housing,
and the two
and I
cities.
wanted
Is
to
that
just
through the
ask-
CARES Act? I think it was through housing, and I wanted to just ask,
Yeah.
You're
Is
talking
it
about
just
the
a regular thing, or I
community
thought it was something
development
specific for the,
yeah, is it just a regular thing, or I thought it was something specific for the,
Have they received
I think
additional
what he's
money?
referring
I don't know if they
to,
received.
what Chris and I
Yeah,
looked
have they
into,
received additional
what he's
funding?
referring to is what Chris and I looked into. Okay, so, off the top of my head, I cannot remember the exact name of the grant, but Laszlo is correct, it's a block grant. And, that will be funding that is issued to the greater Prince William area, that was one of the ones I referred to, just a few minutes ago. And when those funding sources are released, it will be advertised on media, flyers, it will be advertised the information so we can push it in the Manassas flyers, and that funding will be on a first come, first served basis for assistance with housing. So that would definitely be, a program that we would want to make any citizen aware of, in addition to what we're offering if they continue to need, in addition to what we're offering if they continue to need, July is the last cyber, July, August timeframe, they'll be advertising that. July is the last
Can they apply for that through your agency?
They'll be advertising that.
can they apply for that through your
That is
agency?
going to be done through one intake, with the, housing authority, with Prince William County.
So they're-
Make sure we do a really good job with Prince William County, informing
So
our
they're-
citizens that even though it's, coming through the county, that they're eligible for it as well.
right, that was my concern, is that our residents may not know that
Right, that was my concern, is
they
that
qualify
our
as well.
residents may not know that they,
Yeah, when it's
they
released, we're
qualify
gonna
as
push
well.
that big, and I'm gonna make sure that my staff are fully aware that it's there. When it's released, we're gonna push
Thank
that
you,
big,
Randy,
and
I
I'm gonna
appreciate
make sure that my staff are fully aware that it's there.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Any
Randy, I
other
appreciate it.
comments, or, well, you still have to give your
Thank you.
presentation. Yeah, please
Any other
proceed.
comments, or- Well, you
Okay.
still have to give your presentation. Yeah, please proceed. Okay.
Oops.
Okay.
I think we got
So
through
what I'll
those.
go over is the revenue, which we all know
Okay.
about, and I'm gonna just discuss.
So what I'll go over is the revenue, which
The
we all know
expenditures for FY
about,
20.
and we'll just discuss FY 20, FY 21, the expenditures for FY 20.
And then the expenditures for 21,
There's another file.
then what we're calling round two of funding.
And then the
state
expenditures
only
for 21,
contributed half of the
and then what
funds
we're
to
calling
each
round
jurisdiction
2 of
that-
funding the state only contributed half of the funds to each jurisdiction that the federal government gave to them
but it just
to provide to local jurisdictions. They don't have to provide it to us.
half of the money.
But it's just, they received that money, they gave us half of the money, so the round two is what we're calling it. It's yet to be determined whether the state will actually provide that to us or not. All the city managers, county executives are on the call with the governor's chief of staff in the next few days.
I'm going to talk about what the game plan or the recommendation would be if we do
round two coming. But I'm going to talk about what the game plan or the recommendation will be if we do get a
over the
round
Excel
two of
file,
CARES Act funding.
talk about a little bit of the programs. I'll probably
Go over the Excel file, talk about a little bit of the programs. I'll probably talk about the programs for the Excel file.
Okay, so the revenues, as I talked about with the FY21 budget, so we're getting the total amount of
revenues, as I talked about with the FY21 budget, so we're getting the total amount of $1.5 million that was deposited in our bank account last Friday, so we already have the money. The full amount's going to be recognized as part of the FY20 budget amendment 2, since we received it in FY20. We have to recognize it there, so you'll see in the FY20 budget amendment the full $1.5 million. But we also see in the FY20 budget amendment, there's a transfer as an expenditure of $1,073,802 that will be transferred to FY21. Think of that as our FY21 revenue of that 1.5 million. So we're going to spend $451,000 recommended for FY20, and then the remaining $1,073,000.
FY20 expenditures, $451,000, is it just stated?
FY20 expenditures, $451,000, is it just stated? How that breaks down, $330,000 as a reimbursement to the city for the expenditures that we incur to utilize our Parks and Rec department as our COVID-19 response team for the city, for all the different programs that they were doing for the city. And I list those
item, $110,000 for employee support.
The next item, $110,000 for employee support. So
that was based off of actuals that we've had to date, plus a projection
that was based off of actuals that we've had to date, plus a projection of what we could get. That was, of course, before we found out the news today.
Cautious now
that
about
we
it
do have a positive
throughout, so
case.
that might actually, that
we
line
be
item
cautious
may
now
actually
about it
creep up
spreading throughout, so that might actually, that line item may actually creep up here over the next month if we have issues with,
That's the administrative leave part of that for COVID.
That's the administrative leave part of that for COVID.
That's a direct call-out program. It's for if someone tests positive, right, to not punish them by forcing them to use sick leave, but also it's for us as an organization to send people home if they show symptoms, but not charge them sick leave as a mitigation. So
I'm just making sure you get it as paid sick leave and it's the COVID administrative leave.
I'm just making sure you get it as paid sick leave and it's the COVID administrative leave.
And then police overtime for when we reopen City Hall with line management to make sure that everyone is social distancing and wearing one of these before they come into the building, unless of course they have some breathing difficulties, and that's not required. The hazard pay stipend, and I have a slide on that later on for what the different categories are for that pay, with $80,000 for that. And then child care supports and summer camps, since a lot of daycares have been impacted, yet our employees are still working full time, and then most of them are still
FEMA for the longest time was debating whether to reimburse that or not. We don't have to worry about whether they're going to reimburse it or
FEMA
not.
for the longest time was debating whether to reimburse that or not. We don't have to worry about whether they're going to reimburse it or not. Now we have the CARES Act, so we can utilize that as support if you all wish to do that. 2,000 for technology enhancements in FY20 already spent. That's not, we're not seeking FEMA reimbursement for.
$2,000 for
their administrative staff.
Hours in June.
$2,000 for the hours in June for changing the part-time positions and adding additional hours to those part-time employees. And I have a slide on what that looks like later on as well. And then $6,000 for PPE and social distancing equipment. That's non-FEMA reimbursable. So example, as we're doing our line control, you'll see when we do reopen, we have these water barrels to protect pedestrians from vehicles coming in and hitting them.
Spaced out.
This is we're spacing everyone out, and we have people kind of spaced out near other vehicles, and we don't want them to
That's
get hit by cars, so we have
FY20, how it breaks down to not
protective measures
not
for that as well.
a lot in FY20.
That's
The key ones
FY20,
really
breaks
here
down
are,
to not
reimbursement
a
for
lot
parks
in
and rec.
FY20, but the key ones really here are the
and
reimbursement for parks and rec. That's
for our residents,
help
and
to
then the
reward
hazard
parks and
pay
rec department for
is
everything they
something
did
to,
for our residents, and then the hazard pay is something to, again, reimburse our employees for continuing their work.
For FY21, that's when we spend the majority of the funding, just to make it easier.
For FY21, that's when we spend the majority of the funding, just to make it easier. I try to push as much back to FY21, so we're not as worried about, oh, did we spend it in 20 or not? How much do we have to transfer over? We try to push as much as we can to FY21 because July is 1 month away, so we just wait that 1 month and spend it there. It's easier from an accounting perspective. Plus, we need some time to kind of get these programs up and running after you all approve them. So, for example, the small business grant program, $511,000 for that. First time that is drafted a grants application document, we can work with Debbie to kind of get a good lay of the land to validate kind of tiers of income levels, right, that our businesses have, so that we can verify when they send us back their application and they're demonstrating kind of revenue losses. We can then check that with Debbie, not for exact gross receipts, but in terms of the range, are they telling the truth or not? Now, Chris and I are literally going to walk to every single business in our city and hand out the actual application form with instructions for how they can go ahead and apply for the grant program to help them survive the mandatory closures or regulations that have curtailed their business operations back up and running. The goal of that one is very important to get our economy back up and running, because that will help not just our business owners, but help the entire community with amenities and the city in terms of revenue position as well. And the $200,000 that we just talked about for the rent mortgage support and the utility support, $126,000 again for employee support in FY21. Some of that $55,000 may actually come up in June. We shall see. Let's cross our fingers and hope not. But we wanted to keep a healthy reserve there because we are concerned about. We've been lucky so far, and we hope that it stays that way. But it's only a matter of time. We're seeing it now today. We're going to have employees who get infected, unfortunately, and we need to be prepared with the financial resources to take care of them. So you see the quarantine lodging support as well for those who want to be away from their families to not infect them. That's an option we're proposing to provide for our employees. Continual child care support until things reopen. And then continual PD overtime. What we do with that PD overtime is we covered it for the summer, and then we assume that in the fall or the winter there might be a second wave, and if there's a second wave, we may have to go back to social distancing, either closure of City Hall or, and even if we close it, then a gradual reopening where you're doing social distancing again. So we wanted to reserve some of that overtime money for significant technology enhancements, so very little in FY21. Some significant technology enhancements, so very little in FY20. We try to push that back to FY21 to enable telework. Unfortunately, when we, as a city, purchased computers a few years ago, they purchased the majority desktops. So even some of our department directors still have desktops, so when they come to meetings, they don't have computers. This is a problem for telework and for overall operations. And then we want to do some software enhancements to improve the customer service experience of our residents, so they don't have to come in person to have all their issues resolved, especially on our website, which is not very user-friendly. Forms, applications, things like that, allowing them to do that stuff online versus needing to come in. That's also supported by the CARES Act funding to kind of enable long-term social distancing. So we deal with this pandemic and when we're prepared for future pandemics as well. 13,000 for the additional workforce that we talked about before, the same as in FY20, just the additional hours, the temporary promotion for those 2 part-time employees to help out with managing the additional benefits workload that Randy's facing with the recession, plus the specific program that we're going to have for the utility and rent support for our residents. $21,000 in additional PPE and social distancing equipment, and $16,000 for singing support. These are non-FEMA reimbursable. So, for example, the $16,000 is decontamination unit for our police and fire and even public works, especially for fire, since they have a lot of shared vehicles, where they can utilize this between shifts. They put some kind of device in there, and it releases some kind of
fog that actually will kill off all bacteria and germs in the vehicle.
It's some kind of fog that actually will kill off all bacteria and germs in the vehicle, so that you can do shift changes within
because if one of our
fire department shifts, which is what we need. So because if one of our fire department shifts sees cases of COVID-19 and we have to go down to 2 shifts, between those 2 shifts we better be decontaminating those vehicles so we don't lose another shift and we're in big trouble. So that's an important equipment that's not currently FEMA reimbursable, but a lot of people.
Is the CARES Act being run through FEMA?
We can now purchase that.
It's a direct
Is the CARES Act being run through FEMA?
states.
No.
Or to
It's a
jurisdictions of
direct
500,000
grant
people or more,
to
and then
states
then have
or
the,
to jurisdictions of 500,000 people or more,
money
and then the
that
states
they can give to
have
the localities. They don't have to give to the localities.
they receive money that they can give to the localities. They don't have to give to the localities. The state of Virginia did agree
So
with
FEMA reimbursement is a totally different thing, and you'll see in the next slide when we talk
FEMA
about
reimbursement is a totally different thing, and you'll see in the next slide when we talk about the round 2 of CARES Act. I do want to reserve that just in case in the fall. What you see is this is
whereas normally it's very
a
localized to a
unique
state or maybe
FEMA
2 or 3
emergency.
states, right?
Whereas
And all
normally
those
it's very
jurisdictions are
localized to a state or maybe even 2 or 3 states, right? And all of those jurisdictions are seeking reimbursement.
So every single jurisdiction across the country.
The time I've been working, I haven't seen reimbursement. So every single jurisdiction across the country is going to be seeking reimbursement.
Are we actually going to get
Unless federal
reimbursed?
government's already planned for
What's
that,
going to happen between
there's some worry about are we actually going to get reimbursed or not?
reimburses for those
Right,
things?
what's going to happen between the deliberations of Congress and the President? Are they going to reimburse us for those things, or are they just going to tell us to use CARES Act?
as we get on later in the
Right, so
year.
that's why I want to make sure we have some kind of cushion built in as we get on later in the year. Risking, look at potentially reimbursing us for those things and not waiting, risking.
Round 2 again, we get an additional $1.5 million.
Round 2 again, we get an additional $1.5 million, and then, like I just mentioned, the FEMA decides to tell us to use CARES Act money instead of reimbursing us. What we would do is certainly continue with, we would reimburse the city if the community center remains closed for July and we're using Parks and Rec staff for COVID-19 still, and that money would be there for
Round 2 of the
for the
small
July
business grant
expenditure,
program, so really
$105,000.
help our
Round 2
businesses out.
of the small business grant
If we
program
weren't
to
able to
really
do enough with that first
help
round,
our
is doing
businesses
even
out. That's
more with that
even,
second round
if
for
we
those
weren't
same
able to do
businesses.
enough with that
We'll be
first
taking care
round,
of those
is
businesses,
doing even more with that second round for those same businesses. But we taking care of those businesses, but we weren't able to take care of businesses who had secondary or tertiary impacts from COVID-19 and weren't directly regulated, but because of the recession, they were struggling. That's where that money can come into play as well. And then there's a lot of additional more rent, mortgage, and utility support if there's a lot of demand for that, right? Then we would want to continue to provide additional funding for that. Round 2 for the hazard pay stipend. If we get a second wave in the fall or early winter next year of COVID-19 spike, and our employees need to continue working, and this would be round 2 of the hazard pay stipend. The technology enhancements that we are seeking reimbursement on, $7,000. Another position that the community health coordinator, which we weren't able to do. We had other priorities with this budget, but it was a good goal of ours to try to get someone here to continue to advise us to help coordinate testing and all the different components that are involved with COVID-19 response. Round 1 of the funding, I just wasn't able to fit it into the budget, but ideally that's something we can look to utilize for round 2. And I know this is all theoretical right now, but I want to make sure that we have a game plan to demonstrate that we know what we can do with this money if they're asking that as well. Additional PPE that we're going to seek FEMA reimbursement on. Additional test kits for the napkins, because that's something that there's been ongoing issues with testing. Especially if you're going to have a second wave, we're going to want to ramp up testing pretty dramatically. So we're going to want to help out the NAP clinic and the local health department with having as many test kits as possible for our city, for our residents, and then some additional.
Do you have an estimate of how much the test kits have cost, the ones that they've already?
Do you have an estimate of how much
they've already
the
used
test kits have
so
cost,
far
the ones that they've already
Because that's all been procured.
used so so far through the map
I
plan?
don't, because that's only procured through the health department's settlement. But I know certain jurisdictions were evaluating whether to use
Because you
round one of
anticipate
CARES
that
Act
the health
money to buy
department
additional
testing isn't gonna be enough.
It's not
Because you
enough right now.
anticipate that
So
the health
if we
department
wanted to,
testing
we
isn't
could
gonna be
look
enough.
to pursue that.
It's not enough right now, so theoretically, if we wanted to, we have another pursue that now with round one. Because you can see, we have another plan for how we would use that money, but if you want to strip some money out of there and provide additional testing, we can do that as well, but that's really, in my mind, the state should be taking the lead on that with all the CARES Act money they have. They're supposed to be dealing with testing, helping out hospitals with that, with contact tracing as well, right? We want the state to take the lead on that, but I certainly think for round two, because unless there's other things we want to do in round two, that would be a recommendation. I mean, ideally, I'd love to do it right now.
They're only, they were saying at the last meeting that they're only targeting.
Yeah, I know that they're only, they were saying at the last meeting that they're only targeting
Now we have a lot more uninsured people because
basically uninsured people, but now we have a lot more uninsured people
So if we do
because
another
people
round,
who've
we're
lost
gonna
their
have
jobs have also
an
lost their health
exponentially
insurance.
larger
So if we
number of
do
people
another
who
round,
will
we're
be
going to have
uninsured
an
or underinsured and
exponentially
will
larger
may
number
see
of people
testing
who will be
versus
uninsured
what
or
we've seen before
underinsured
because some
and
people
will
still are
may see
working.
testing versus what we've seen before because some people still are working.
I'll go over the spreadsheet afterwards. This is how you guys have the handouts. So the hazard pay, this is how you guys have the handouts, and you know this as well. This is how we define the different tier levels. You can see in the table below, it has each tier. It has the number of employees that qualify for each tier, what the recommended bonus stipend amount would be, or the one-time payment, and then what the total cost would be for those programs. We build a little bit of cushion just in case as we continue to evaluate this one. We want to make sure we don't leave an employee out. They could qualify for tier 4 or tier 3 that we haven't accounted for. We did a pretty thorough examination of this with every single employee and kind of what they've done. And you can see tier 1 is really those who have been here the majority of the time and more interacted with the public more than 10 times less directly exposed. So that's the one that we really want to reward with the hazard pay stipend. So
That's
any questions
interesting.
on how we find this?
I mean, I don't have any questions. I think that's a fair way to calculate it. I mean, I don't have any questions. I think that's a fair way to calculate it.
Received a lot of guys.
Yeah, we just want to make sure we have a clear criteria. Even though we received a lot of guidance, they just said, hey, you can do a hazard pay program. They provide us no guidance for how we can do that. We just want to make sure that we're using definitions and tiering it based off risk level.
Was there given, was there any thought that the fire department, fire and rescue actually had more risk?
Was there any thought that the fire
relative
department
to their number of
and
hours,
rescue
that they
actually had more risk, even
more risk than the
relative to
average
their number of
person who might have been
hours,
here
that they
80%
actually
of the
had
time?
more
Was
risk
there
than
just
the
a
average
thought, was
person
there
who
any-
might have been here
maybe
80% of the
that
time?
they
Was
get a little
there
bit more,
just
maybe
a thought, was there
700 just
maybe
because they actually
that
had a
they
lot more risk
get a little
because
bit
they're
more, maybe they need
interacting
600 or
with
700
people
just
that are
because they
potentially
actually had a
sick.
lot more risk because they're interacting with people that are potentially sick.
This is a very difficult pandemic because there's asymptomatic people as well. So as long as you're interacting with the public, you're at risk. The good thing with our fire department, something that the protective group works on very hard is to make sure that they are equipped with the protective equipment so that when they do go out to serve a resident who has symptoms, they're wearing their N95 or when they had to go help out Birmingham. It's even stronger than that, but they're making sure when they had to go help out in Birmingham, being from their advantage, that they're protected. But you're right, they're still, putting them at risk. But again, any person who's interacting directly serving those who may be symptomatic. But again, any person who's interacting with the public right now, calculating just don't know who has it. It's hard to calculate in the fact that the fire department did a great job protecting themselves as well.
So to date, there have been no positive testing with our first responders in the fire department? There have been no positive testing with our first responders in the fire department?
Fire department.
Okay, thank you.
Questions?
Yeah. Any?
Oh, okay.
There's more.
So for DSS, we just wanted to find how we're doing this.
There's more.
So for DSS, just wanted to find how we're doing this for the two part-time and the two part-time.
Trying to advertise and wait for someone to eventually be hired.
Instead of
train them up.
trying to advertise and wait for someone to eventually be hired and then train them up, and then we're already in December. These people already have experience, so we're part of the team. So essentially giving them full-time hours with a promotion to help manage the different programs of DSS. So they'll be working roughly an additional 22 hours per pay period. So the pay period is a 2-week period to help out with the different programs that we highlighted. Also for Randy, we talked about this a lot, but the goal is to at least help out 100 residents with a rent and mortgage of 160.
Back to the part-time to full-time, then at some future date, do they go back to part-time?
Part-time to full-time. Then at some future date, do they go back to part-time?
Yeah, it's a temporary. It would just be, nothing we do here can be permanent. So it really is just a temporary surge capacity of additional hours. But both employees were interested in having additional hours.
And again, we talked about potentially utilizing nonprofits, so we want documentation.
And again, we talked about potentially utilizing nonprofits, so we want documentation from them that they have supported our residents, as actual residents, they have proved that it was, and we can help them endorse them for that to help out with their efforts.
This letter.
I do have a question for
Under
you.
the rent mortgage utility is that
This
we're
letter.
gonna put $100,000 into utility.
Under the rent mortgage utility is that we're gonna put $100,000 into utility,
You want at least
right?
160, that's
And if you divide it by
$625.
160, you want at least
I'm not sure who
160,
has a
that's
$625 electric
$625.
bill or $625
I'm
gas
not
bill
sure
during
who
the
has a
summer.
$625 electric bill or $625 gas bill during the summer.
We cut it in half, but, well, the gap, remember, this started March 15th, and this was a delayed spring, right? So, and this has been multiple months that people have been unemployed, so theoretically, they may be back by a large amount. But we can, if your guidance to us is cut that in half, don't make it, not more than 300.
I guess I'm trying to
per person, you
understand
can
how
help
much
do that.
need there would be.
I guess
It's
I'm
160
trying to
households, we have
understand
almost
how
5,000,
much
at least
need there would be.
5,000.
Because 160
That doesn't go
households
very
are
far.
almost 5,000, at least
Yes.
5,000.
This is Randy, can I say
That
something?
doesn't go
Yes,
very far.
certainly. Yes.
We were looking at it from the mindset
Yes,
that they
certainly.
may have more than just the one utility.
looking at it from the mindset that they may have more
Unfortunately, even
than
when
just
there
the
isn't
one
a
utility.
pandemic, we have individuals that come in with
Unfortunately, even when there isn't a
utility bills
pandemic,
that
we
are
have individuals that come in
sometimes
with
several hundred dollars.
utility bills that are sometimes several hundred dollars.
Significant backlog.
So it may be.
Like 2 or 3 months, is that that's what you're saying?
Backlog.
Again, with round two.
Like 2 or 3 months, is that that's what you're saying?
Exactly. And again, with round two, we'd look to double these
It's hard
numbers,
to
right?
tell what the exact need is right now, because even if there are people who.
I mean, it's hard to tell what the exact need is right now, because even if there are people who are unemployed because of the stimulus addition to the unemployment insurance that Randy referenced before, they may be earning the same or more than what they were before. So we're really kind of targeting this to specific
And it may end up
groups
being more, which
who
means
have
we need to
had
really lobby
income
the state to help us out.
from this, and it may end up being more, which means we need to really lobby the state to help us out even more on this, try to help people out with the mortgage and rent through the HUD program that the county's managing.
I'm sorry,
So
I just,
we're
so I'm
kinda
trying to
maximize
understand how
what
you guys
we can do
approach
with
it.
funding.
So are you limiting
Sorry,
which
just,
utilities
I'm
are
trying to understand how you
reimbursable?
guys approach it.
So are you limiting which utilities are reimbursable?
Just electric and gas.
I mean, there was an argument for internet. It's
I mean,
just
there was an
looking at kind of
argument
more life
for
preservation,
internet.
like water, can't do water.
It's just, we're looking at kind of more life preservation, like water,
There was a good case to
can't
be
do
made
water,
for
good thing, but at least.
Well,
you know,
especially
have
for
electricity,
education for the
but
children.
There is a good case to be made for internet.
Because we
Well,
haven't
especially
received a lot of
for
guidance,
education
we
for the
didn't wanna risk-
children.
I
Yeah,
agree.
And
yeah.
just
Because we haven't received
clearly
a
they
lot of
call out
guidance, we didn't want to risk.
directly, so we know that one is.
Clearly, they call out electrical
is
directly,
covered by
so we
the
know
CARES
that
Act, so
one
they
is
wouldn't ask for that money to go back.
reimbursed,
My
or
word would
is
be
covered
okay,
by
we
the
have
CARES
to
Act, so they wouldn't ask for that money to go back to.
The
My
auditors
word
would
would be,
say,
is,
well,
okay, we end up
that
helping people
wasn't
with
part of the
internet,
intent.
Well, hopefully, if the electric and the gas are taken care of, then that might leave extra for them to spend on the internet.
If the electric and the gas are taken care of, then that might leave extra for them to spend on the internet.
IT, this is another big program, so we talked about the laptops
Okay,
already.
IT, this is another big program, so we talked about the laptops already. There's also a lot of improvement, upgrades that we had to do for our computers themselves, our phone systems, our internet, capabilities to allow for remote work itself. A lot of these things are FEMA reimbursable, so we're going to try to get FEMA reimbursement before we use CARES Act dollars for teleconferencing equipment and software. Example, GoToMeeting. So that's one thing that's really works out. We've also utilized some employees that utilize Zoom. So there's different tools that we're leveraging to enable remote work, and that's part of this. Software upgrades, the biggest one, upgrading our website, because it's really not user-friendly for our customers. Allows having some kind of document management system that allows us to create applications that are fillable online. You can sign in, you can do all those things online so that people actually don't have to come in. Including, we can even evaluate the governing body agenda management software tools as well, so we're not relying on YouTube, and there's actual better follow-on. That's something you can evaluate as well as an option. The payment portal upgrades, right, for customer payment ease, so it's easier for them to do the online payments and potentially even reduce how much
You've already done this, or you will do it?
No, this is what we're looking to do in FY21.
You've already done this, or you will do it?
No, this is what we're looking to do in FY21.
We're going to try to, there's a grant that Chris has applied for that.
GIS upgrades, we're going to try to, there's a grant that Chris has applied for that we're going to wait and see. In October, we may actually get grant funding for our GIS, so we will try to wait and utilize that before we do any GIS enhancements. Adobe Pro, that's a big one for a lot of for users when we're using Adobe products.
So there's kind of different software and hardware enhancements that we're looking to do.
So those are kind of different software and hardware enhancements that we're looking to do utilizing CARES Act funding to allow for telework and for customer service.
So I'll go over the
online,
spreadsheet, but I just want to go over next steps to
so I'll go over the spreadsheet, but I just want to go over next steps to please look at this presentation, look at the Excel file, send questions over to me, and the type of edits that we need to do. And then I know this is a tight timeline because we really need to give guidance on FY20 budget, 2 and FY21 budget, and the CARES Act funding, and how that's part of both of those budgets, right? And we really, we can vote on it after June 16th, right? June 16th is the earliest we can vote on it because of the budget public hearings that we're doing, but we need to get it done certainly before July 1st, and if we could vote on it on the 16th, it would help because then we could meet soon after, the week after that, with an updated appropriations request for both FY20 and FY21 as well, because we got to do appropriations.
Jeanette, when is our next meeting after the 16th?
So,
Jeanette, when is our next
July,
meeting
isn't
after
it?
the 16th?
Yeah, we don't have one scheduled.
We haven't set it yet.
It's into July, isn't
You
it?
have the 23rd.
yeah, we don't have our schedule
haven't set it
after,
yet.
but we can, you have the 23rd and the 30th as the Tuesdays after if we need to meet. And 30th would be the last day for the first of July. All right, so CARES Act, so I emailed this to you all. This is a very simple spreadsheet to read, right? It has the FY20 amounts and FY21 amounts in columns D and E.
And it looks just like our line
So
item
the
budget
revenues
where
up here,
we
and
have
totals.
the actual line item
And
description.
it looks just like our line item budget where we
Wherever it
have
says
the actual
TBD,
line item description.
that means that
And once
upon
these get
her team will actually
approved,
create
wherever it
a
says
GL
TBD,
live
that
item
means that
4.
upon her team will actually
And
create
then you can see
a
there's blank where it says
GL
no
live
GL is
item
needed
4.
because we've utilized
And then you can see
existing
here it's blank where it says no
GLs to pay
GL
for
is
those
needed
things, so
because
we're simply just
we utilize
reimbursing,
existing
the
city
for those
GLs
wherever
to
we
pay for
can,
those things, so
we
we're
want
simply
to
just
create new line items
reimbursing
to track
the city for
CARES
that.
Act
But
funded
wherever we
expenditures
can,
separately,
we want to create new line items to track
So we have
CARES
it
Act
broken down
fund
exactly by the
expenditures
categories
separately
that I
for
briefed you
audit
all on.
purposes. So we have it broken down exactly by the categories that I briefed
small
you all
business.
on.
When you see the
over the last
highlighted,
few weeks of Parks and
that's
Rec,
for round 2.
the small business.
Right? Or
When you see the
for
highlighted,
the FEMA
that's for round two, right? Or for the FEMA reimbursement, as you can see here, it's under 5,000 here, and $0 here, because the total amounts are just for round one, right? But I wanted to provide kind of the thoughts for round two as we make our justification to the state for why they should release the round two money as well. And for us to kind of discuss and have a game plan already for that. And you have the small business program, the rent utility program, the employee support program, and how that's broken down by the specific categories, the technology enhancements,
salary, FICA, and health,
and then the additional workforce, which is just the DSS, salary, FICA, and health. We double checked with the VRS. There is no requirement for retirement or the life insurance component.
Like if we do that using this money, an auditor say we didn't have
That's
to do
kind
that.
of audit. Like if we do that using this money, an auditor say we didn't have to do that, then that would be a risk that we'd have to return that money.
You see the yellow are the ones that we're going to try to get.
And then PPE, and you see the yellow are the ones that we're going to try to get FEMA to reimburse.
And we have been as conservative,
and then
even
the
though
same thing with community
this
supplies as
isn't
well.
our money when you look
And
at
we
how
have
much
been as conservative, even though
this stuff.
this isn't
Really
our money. When you look at how much others have spent on this stuff, we've really been very frugal with on this.
We only have spent exactly
that's ultimately our money.
what is actually needed.
So we only have spent
And then you can
exactly
see
this, what is
total
actually needed,
expenditures for
nothing.
each year.
And then you can see this total expenditures for each year.
Unspent amount in
So
FY
you can
'20
do that, that's just money.
that goes to
And then the amount to transfer, unspent amount in FY *20 that goes to.
Thank you for being frugal.
Thank you for
Thank you
also
for
just
being
putting
frugal.
this together. I know this is a Herculean
Thank you for
task
also
in
just
terms
putting
of
this
trying to
together. I know
figure
this
out
is
percentages.
a Herculean task. I mean, in
how much
terms
does this
of trying to
person spend
figure
on
out
this and that and the other, or do
percentages
we need,
and
all the different
how much does this
programs,
person spend
areas.
doing this and that and
I
the
just
other,
wanna say
or do
thank
we,
you to you and,
all the different
staff,
programs,
because I know
areas. I just wanted to say thank you to you.
Oh,
and,
that's excellent.
staff,
All
because
the
I know you've done a
departments
lot.
stepped up last week because we had.
Oh, that's excellent.
Turnaround. Some of them we briefed them on Wednesday what we needed, and we said it's due tomorrow, the next day at 5
So
o'clock.
do you need, I don't interpret this as the
So
need for a
do you
formal
need-
vote.
I
No,
don't,
it's more like
I
guidance
don't
that,
interpret
yes,
this
I
as
like
the need
this,
for a
but this-
formal
because your
vote.
formal vote is.
No, it's more like guidance that, yes, I like this, put this, but this formal vote
Okay,
was the actual budget.
So I would recommend then that we email you any concerns or
So
changes or
I would
questions or
recommend then
whatever we
that
might
we
have.
email you any concerns or changes or questions
I beg
or
your pardon?
whatever
Definitely
we
want
might have.
consensus, though.
You know,
Is there anything that,
I beg your pardon?
Definitely want
I mean, I know you're
consensus,
talking about
so.
round two, but
Okay.
are there
Okay.
any
Is there anything that
COVID-related
is
expenses
unmet?
that
I mean, I know you're
haven't
talking about
been
round
able to
two,
meet
but are there any COVID-related expenses that we haven't been able to
We'll
meet?
find out. I hate to say that.
I don't think so. I mean, we'll find out here, right? I hate to say that, and then we find out that our businesses have a much bigger
That's the
need
big,
than what we're
that,
budgeting.
you know, the amount that we have for those two programs,
That's the big,
either be that
that, you know, the amount that we have for those two programs,
right?
it
Or
could
it could just
either be that
overwhelm what we
we
have.
don't have that much of a need,
Push for that.
right? Or it could just overwhelm what we have here, and then we really need to push for that
So we'll
round
find out
two
when we actually
of
submit these grants.
funding to help out our.
For the grant
So we'll find out when we actually submit these grants for the grant application, and make sure I do Spanish version as well. I'm going to directly go to our Spanish speaking businesses and explain the process to them. Because I want to make sure that everyone has an opportunity
That's specifically called out
to seek these benefits.
Good use.
That's specifically called out for.
Okay, so let's see if anyone else has any questions or comments. Do you have any?
Okay, so let's see if anyone else has any
Councilmember
questions
Machado,
or
do you have any
comments.
questions or comments?
No, I don't.
Councilmember Machado, do you have any questions or comments?
We are going to send, I'm going to send my question. I just wanted to thank, my presentation. I just wanted to thank, to recognize, that the city employees are taken care of. We recognize city employees, how they taken care of. We recognize how they his work, all their work are going to be compensated. Their work are going to be compensated. Going to be all across all the departments. Is the hazard payment going to be all across all the departments?
Do have employees within them that.
Yes, all departments do have employees within them that
Do you have a,
qualify.
do you have a follow-up?
I just
Do you have a-
wanted to comment
do you have a
that we are
follow-up?
doing this because there are lots of potential employees that we are doing this because there are lots of potential employees that are being anything about the company are not
Thank you.
anything about
Councilmember Sendejas?
so far.
I want to say thank you to all of our
Councilmember
employees for
Sendejas?
their sacrifice and their hard work. I want to say thank you to all of our employees for their
Councilmember
sacrifice and
Javed,
their
any
hard work.
questions or comments?
Councilmember Javed, any
no,
questions or
fine.
comments?
Okay, thank you. This is a very, thank you, Laszlo, very
Okay,
well-balanced approach to the
This
CARES
is a
Act
very,
funding.
thank you,
Much
Laszlo, very
appreciated.
well-balanced approach
So are
to
we
the
ready to
CARES Act
move on?
funding. Much
Okay.
appreciated. Okay. So are
Next
we
would
ready to move
8E,
on? Okay.
Budget amendment,
Next
excuse me,
would
FY 20
8E,
budget amendment.
Budget amendment, FY 20 budget amendment.
This is budget amendment 2, budget amendment 1 back in
So this is
December.
budget
We missed some things.
budget amendment 1 back in December. We missed some things in budget amendment 1.
The health department
Contract. One example is the health department contract where, we just missed it as a staff and then we found out.
Different things that we
when
missed
came
with
back,
budget amendment
that
1.
saw a slight
And then,
increase as well. So
of course, the
different
CARES
things
Act
that we missed with
being the
budget
biggest
amendment 1.
change with
And then,
budget
of course, the CARES Act
guidance on
being the
for
biggest change
approval for
with budget amendment 2 that we need the guidance on for
provide a
approval for budget
last
amendment
minute
2, so that we can
appropriations
then provide a last minute appropriation adjustment so that we don't get hit by our audit for receiving $1.5 million in our
So we'll go
account.
over, highlight the positive changes, right? So that's
We'll go over,
positions.
highlight the
Negative, it
positive
doesn't mean it's
changes,
a
right, so
negative
that's
thing. It just
financial
means
improvement positions
loss
for
of
us.
money or
Negative, it doesn't mean it's
expenditure,
a negative thing, it just means it's
more of a
a
negative
loss of money or
change.
expenditure, right, that's actually a good
The
thing.
changes that we made that
It's
that
more
had
of a
no
negative
fiscal
financial
impact,
change,
just kind of
and then the changes that we made that had no fiscal impact, so just kind of reorganization of line items.
So positive
Go over the
financial
Excel
impact.
file again, next
Budget
steps.
amendment.
So
we did
positive
receive
financial
$6,000
impacts in
grant
the
besides
budget
CARES Act.
amendment.
This is from
So we did
Health
receive a
Services.
$6,000 grant besides the CARES Act. This is from directly from the Health and Human Services
Fire and EMS,
Department
Fire
of
and
Federal
Rescue
Government,
Department.
directly to our fire
For
and
EMS
EMS,
purposes.
our fire and rescue
This is
department.
a revenue program as well, so it's so that we
For
don't,
EMS purposes, the way we're, and this is a revenue program as well, so it's so
they
that
have
we don't
flu-like symptoms, they were taken
bill.
to
So if
the
someone's
hospital for
insurance
treatment.
isn't covering, they had flu-like symptoms, they were taken to the hospital for treatment, and their insurance didn't cover it, we don't go after it. Essentially, we just take a piece of this $6,000 to reimburse the city for those lost revenues for us not billing people who tested positive for COVID-19 treatment.
Donations
had,
for food purchases.
ambulances take them to
Donations from.
donations for food purchases. We had a lot of great donations from our residents to $2,800. When you recognize that donation revenue in the budget
CARES Act funding of
and our expenditures, and then the CARES Act funding of 1.5.
So actual, expenditures or revenue losses that have negative
So
financial
actual,
impacts.
expenditures or
Good programs,
revenue
so the
losses that have
CARES Act
negative financial impacts,
expenditures,
but, which are
$451,000
good programs, so the
FY20.
CARES Act expenditures, $451,000.
The CARES Act
FY20,
fund
that
transfer
just
to
briefed you on the CARES
FY21
Act
for
PowerPoint
unspent CARES Act
slide.
dollars.
The CARES Act fund transfer to FY21 for
COVID-19
unspent CARES Act dollars, $1,073,000. COVID-19 FEMA reimbursable expenditures at $51,000, that again are part of that $90,000 revenue that we're looking for in FY21 for
There was a
reimbursement.
budget
So
error
it's
in our debt
FY20
service
expenditures
schedule.
related to that. There was a budget error in our debt service schedule. We undercounted by 53,000, so that's on the fund and fixed in the debt
This is
service.
a positive financial impact, but it shows up as an expenditure, so.
This is
Increase
a positive
in
financial impact, but it shows up as an
operating
expenditure, so increase the contribution to the operating reserve fund
This does not,
of
I'm not
$232,000.
downgrading our revenue as part of that FY20
This does not, I'm not downgrading our revenue as part of that FY20 budget.
We're starting to know
right, kind of what the end of the year impacts are.
don't expect
We're starting to
necessarily that
know
we're gonna have
a little bit
the
about
surplus,
that.
because we really
But, so don't expect necessarily that we're gonna have a surplus.
assumption of no recession and then all this stuff, the contribution to reserves goes up. So
Assumption
think
of
of that
no
as your
recession
cushion
and then
for
all this
revenue
stuff,
losses over the last
the contribution to reserves goes up. So think of that as your
Along with
cushion
everything we're
for
doing
revenue
to
losses over the last few months here.
When will
Along
we
with
know
everything we're doing to
about
keep
sales tax
expenditures
revenue
down.
from the state?
It's always 2
When
months
when will we
behind.
know
So,
about sales tax revenue
we
from the
should
state?
actually
It's always
hear
2 months
within the next
behind,
few weeks.
so we should actually hear
We may not
in the
know
next
till
few
like
weeks
August or
to,
so.
But we'll know in June, right?
But we may not know till like
The first
August
leg
or
of it
so.
is,
Well, we'll
then
know
see how
in
deep
June,
it goes
right,
in
what
July,
the
right?
first leg of
And
it
then
is,
how
and
long
then we'll
it's gonna
see
go
how deep
by,
it goes
you know,
in July, right?
how
And then
quickly
how long it's
businesses
gonna
bounce
go
back. So
by,
really, it's gonna take
you
until
know,
the late fall.
how quickly
how long.
businesses bounce back. So really, it's
We
gonna take
won't know
until
about
late
FY
fall,
'20 numbers,
you know,
some
how
of those
long it really
last
is.
numbers till
And
August.
we won't know about
We won't really
FY20
know where like
numbers, some
sales
of those
tax
last numbers till
revenue is
August, because
because
we
the
won't,
state
we
comes
won't really
back
know
to
where
us.
like sales
It's
tax
usually
revenue is, because it goes to
early
the state,
September.
comes back to us.
Correct, yeah, so usually by the, you know, early September,
revenue
if we
assessment,
commit to it, we can
assessment.
get a good
Problem
but
is usually
revenue
Tom's working on
assessment
the audit
and
at that time
expenditure
as well, so
assessment
that's
for
why we
FY
usually
'20.
do
The problem is usually
And we
Tom's
wanna
working
wait
on
to
the
see
audit
kind
at
of
that
what's
time as
happening
well,
with
so that's why
expenditures.
we
We usually
usually
do the amendment in December.
and we wanna wait to see kind of what's happening with expenditures, so we usually do the amendment in December, but we can at least try to update you in September for what happened with the.
$932, that was an increase in the health department contract that we didn't account for.
All right, $932, that was an increase in the health
Budget
department
amendment.
contract that we
We
didn't
have
account for
that
at first.
$89,000 street
Budget amendment.
improvement budget line items,
We
capital
have
line
that
item.
$89,000 street
City never
improvement
received
budget
in
line item, it's the capital line item.
Calvin brought
It was
this
a
to
bill
our
that
attention a few months ago.
the city never received in FY '16, and then Calvin brought this to our attention a few months ago, and we approved,
The VRE garage redesign,
paying
10%
for that. And then the VRE garage redesign, the 10% redesign that we approved a few months ago.
Where,
as well,
what,
that needs to be
what pot of money is the
captured in the
182,000
budget
coming
itself.
from?
Where, what pot of money is the 182,000 coming from?
Does the VRE redesign, does that include the platform
Does the
design
VRE
too?
redesign,
Yeah, they're gonna get
does that
to 10%
include the
redesign,
platform
that-
design too?
How they define
Yeah,
it
they're
is
gonna
that
get to
when they do the 10% redesign, they should have some kind of
how they define it is that when they do the
concepts,
10% redesign,
really
they should
a
have
better
some kind of
defined
updated,
budget for construction.
you know, concepts, but
Okay.
really a better
Essentially, it's
defined
problem
budget
solving
for
that
construction.
we haven't used
So we
topography, so
Okay.
how are we doing this?
So
Right,
essentially, it's
right.
problem solving.
I got
that
it. So they're not
we
gonna
have
build
new
like a second
topography, so how
platform,
are
it's
we
just gonna be
doing
redesigning the existing one. I got it. So they're not gonna build like a second platform, it's just gonna be redesigning the existing
These are
one.
items that don't have any financial impacts, but we had to correct in the budget, so the next gen ESL.
These are items that don't have any financial impacts, but we had to correct in the budget. So next gen ESL and that migration that
Governing body
Chief
approved, I
Lou
think, 2 years
approved
ago
a couple months
for
ago.
implementation, and then it's
The
100%
governing body
grant
approved, I think,
funded.
2 years
but
ago
we
for
need authority-
implementation,
we
and
need
then
authority to spend
it's
more.
100% grant funded, but we need authority to, we needed authority to spend more than what was originally budgeted for, so we came back to the commission. So we wanted to just put those revenues and expenditures in the budget to capture that reality.
A few months ago, about shifting.
This was something that we Debbie emailed you on a few months ago about shifting between overtime and salaries in order to help her retain one of her employees that
30,000
that
shift
we
from where we had, we put the facilities when it was all under contract.
30,000
We had that
shifts
extra
from where we put the
services
facilities
line.
when it was all under contract. We had that extra 30,000 in the professional services line.
Order
We ended
position,
up hiring
part-time janitor.
those positions for the porter position and the part-time janitor. So we're shifting those back now to the
Change the line
facility
item.
salaries, but it's
Same
not,
thing
no
with,
real impact to the
facility
budget itself,
support,
just
the
a change in line item.
facility line
Same
item.
thing with facility support.
The Parks and
The
Rec,
fire
they had that massive
facility line
electrical
item
failure.
is looking like it's gonna come under. For Parks and Rec, because they had that massive electrical failure that Calvin had to, and Kenny had to fix. We're shifting the money from the fire department to the Parks and Rec for the facility.
Before I go over the spreadsheet again,
Before I go over the spreadsheet again,
on the 16th to incorporate the CARES Act.
looking for a vote on this on the 16th to incorporate the CARES Act.
We'll have one ready.
And appropriation request. We'll have one ready for the 16th, assuming this budget, if they can further changes, then we'll have to follow it up.
The actual spreadsheet,
At a later date.
again, we're using the yellow, right?
The actual spreadsheet, again, we're using a yellow, right?
See, there's
Highlighted is for
Original FY20.
You can see there's actually
Amendment that we did
going
in
to be
December,
three
which
columns.
has
There's the original
pink
FY
or
20.
green or red,
There's the
red or
amendment
green.
that we did in December,
Or the
which
changes
has
that we made in
the
December.
pink or green, or red,
And then
red
for
or
this
green,
budget amendment
or the
two,
changes that we made in December, from the original. And then for this budget amendment 2 with what we call A2, amendment 2, look for
Here's
the
a yellow,
yellow.
right, this means a change, and then right next to it, we say whether
So
it's.
here's a yellow, right, this means a
positive
change. And then right next to it, we say whether it's,
amount or
you know, a
negative.
positive change
So that's how to read. This
the amount
looks
or
exactly like
negative,
our
which would be
normal
red.
budget spreadsheet.
So that's how to read this, right? It looks exactly like our normal budget spreadsheets, but just look for the yellow, and I'll show you the
Then you're just gonna have.
biggest example
What
of
I
the
just
CARES Act,
briefed
the
you all
1.5
on,
million.
the CARES Act.
And you're just gonna have what I just briefed you all on, for the CARES Act. That's the Commissioner Revenue example there. So we've got a CARES Act example.
CARES Act, so
Expenditure.
this is elections equipment for the registrar.
CARES Act, so
$86.
elections
That was
equipment
part of the
for
social services.
the registrar,
line item.
sorry, $86.
The hazard pay.
That was part of the
right
social
there as well.
services PPE line item.
Change,
And
so
the hazard pay,
that's how to
you see
read
that
this.
one right there as well, the yellow.
Same thing with the CIP.
Change, so
There's only two
that's how to
changes
read this.
CIP.
Well,
Three
taking the
county
CIP,
revenue, so the
there's
revenue
only
increase
2
from
changes to the
NBTA,
CIP. Well, 3 county revenue, so the revenue increase from NBTA of $271,000 to cover.
Yeah, the two changes, so the unpaid bill here, and then the VRE garage.
The 2 changes, so the unpaid bill
182.
here,
There's only
and
2
then the
changes to
VRE
the
garage.
CIP, and then you'll just see
Oh,
the yellow
yeah.
changes.
182.
So there's only 2 changes to
Here
the
I try to
CIP,
make it
and then you'll
simple,
just see the
and
yellow
say no
changes
change
in the line item
for
budget.
most of the things, and then I
Here I try to
describe
make it simple and
where the
just say
change
no
is.
change for most of the things, and then I describe where the change is.
No change to the water and sewer budget, stormwater or solid waste. So, you know,
No change to the water and sewer budget, stormwater or solid waste. So, you know, we can, look at those. So this is a simpler
really
budget
answer my question
amendment, and really
about,
the main emphasis is the CARES Act.
Solid waste.
You were gonna answer my question
Have
about,
to have general
solid
fund
waste.
subsidy, because you said you cut
That
some
we're
things.
gonna
Well,
have
that
to
was FY21.
have general fund
Yeah.
subsidy because you said you cut some things.
Well, that was
I still have to
FY21.
finalize that.
Yeah, because we're
I'm
not
sorry, I wasn't
doing
even
the
thinking about
rate
it, yeah.
increase, but I
What
still
about
have to finalize
Hasib's
that
mention about
spreadsheet and-
the
I'm sorry, I wasn't
VRE
thinking
parking
about it.
garage, the
What
demolition?
about Hasib's mention about the VRE parking garage, the demolition?
So capital overview.
It was 350?
Oh, was it? So it was
350,000?
It was 350?
Oh, was it? So.
Yeah, Steve, do you remember the
250,000?
amount?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Steve,
you're
do you
right.
remember
On
the amount?
screen, It's line 16, community development. Yeah,
Gotcha.
you're right. It's on that 5416, line
There it
16,
is.
community development.
Yeah, that
Gotcha.
should be,
You see that 5416?
There it is.
how much this
Yeah,
group
that should
plus
be,
how much this group. Is how much
this group plus how much this group is how much. So let me just do the math here, make sure that the formula is. So it's
$271,000 increase, and that should be.
$271,000 increase, and that should be the same.
So that should say 271. Does it say that on the bottom down? Right here.
Which one are you looking
Yeah,
at?
271, say that.
Yeah.
Right here.
Which one are you looking
But
at?
that's what that is, Steve. It's the math of, that's the total for the community
But that's
development
what that
department,
is,
which
Steve,
reflects
it's the math of,
increase for the unpaid
that's
bill
the
of
total for the
16,
community development
and then the
department,
VRE
which reflects
garage,
the
10%.
increase for the unpaid bill at 16, and then the VRE garage, 10% redesign.
Hmm.
Okay. Do you have any questions? Councilmember Machado, do you have any questions? Councilmember Machado, do you have any questions? Councilmember Sendejas, do you have any
No
questions?
questions, ma'am.
No questions.
Councilmember Sendejas, do you have any Councilmember questions? Javed, do you have any other
No
questions?
questions, thank you.
Councilmember Javed, do you have any other questions? Thank you. Thank you. Are we ready to, thank you, put this to bed? Okay. Are we ready to? Okay, moving on to manager's report. Okay. Okay, moving on to manager's report.
At the last couple manager reports, we've been talking about reopening of City Hall.
At the last couple of manager reports, we've been talking about reopening of City Hall.
Initial
We
target date.
last left off on
See a
June
little bit more
8th
data.
as initial target date, and we wanted to see a little bit more data before we feel comfortable with that, so I handed this out and I emailed this to you all
From a regional
as well.
perspective.
So I just want to show you some of the data
The governor decides.
from a regional perspective,
Region,
it's
but
called
also
Northern
our
Virginia,
specific
that's how
area.
the governor
Unfortunately, they don't break
decides,
it out by our
looking at the
city,
entire region, but also
into
our
the
specific
Prince
area.
William Health
Unfortunately, they don't
District
break it
data.
out by our city,
Both
we're lumped
data
into
sets
the
from
Prince
a
William Health
percent
District
positive,
data, but I want to show you
death
Right,
rates.
both data sets from a percent positive, death rates and hospitalizations for Northern Virginia and
That's
Princeton
actually
area.
reflecting
And why percent positives are so important is because that's actually reflecting the reality of the severity of people before. There just wasn't enough testing, so it's very likely that there was a lot more people who had it, but that just weren't being tested. So you want to look at percent positive as a total test to see where the actual pandemic is heading. That's what we started with, was percent positive for Northern Virginia, and you can see from, and this was pulled from the NVRC database. They take the health department data and they have one few of their analysts from one does a great job of turning it into these graphs, which are great information for us. So just to explain this, so you can see the orange is positive cases, and then the red is the number of tests, right? And then the blue is just the percent positive. So how many people are positive over how many tests we have. And you can see that clearly from early May until now, there's a dramatic increase in testing, which is good. So if you look at this data, but also the percent positive has been going down. So if you look at this data, just this data alone, it would support our region moving into phase 2 now, right? Because we've had 2 successive 14-day periods of decline for the federal guidelines. When you look at it from a regional standpoint, it would say that. But when you look at it from a Prince William standpoint, it's different. Our area, the decline has been a little bit more delayed and not as well pronounced. So this would, it's close though, right? So this would indicate that our area could move into phase 2 by this Friday, which is when the rest of Northern Virginia would do that. And that's, so if you were looking just at percent positive, the recommendation would be, we should move closer. But that would be ignoring, death rates and then hospitalizations as well, which are key factors that you want to look at. Plus, especially before moving to phase 3, you want to make sure that your testing regime is in place, right? And that your PPE is out there, and that people are complying with this. Because when we fully reopen, we want to make sure that we're limiting the spike when everyone is back down. So those become important factors really when you talk about phase 3, but at least for phases 1 and 2, you want to really look at the percent positive death rates and hospitalizations to make sure that we're heading in the right direction for all of those. So looking at the deaths associated with COVID-19 as a region, you can see that why we moved into phase 1, right? Things were looking good. Fortunately, things were dropping. Thank God they were dropping. Kind of went up. Fortunately, in the last, since we moved into phase 1, you can see it kind of went up. It did. This data is delayed. Trajectory is starting to go back down. The problem is this data is delayed, so it might end up actually being that it's going this way. So we need to wait and see what the health department says. But if this trend continues here, then it would suggest that we could open around June 12th. However, if you looked at this and said we were declining and then we went back up, so really we should go back to the starting point, that would suggest we need to wait for this to continue to drop for 2 successive 14-day periods, which would be more like June 26th, if you wanted to play conservative to make sure that our death rates are really going down to
how much
better
particularly the Prince William numbers, how much
particularly in the Prince William numbers, how much
assisted living or like
nursing home,
like long-term care where they're
assisted living or like long-term
that
care
they're
where
segregated from kind of the rest of society in terms of their long-term care. They're not
that they're
out and
segregated
about.
from kind of the rest of
Like, how many
society in
these
terms of
numbers
their
are
long-term
attributable
care.
to
They're not out and about. Like how many of these numbers are attributable to that?
I can't speak to that. I know that was a huge data issue. I believe a lot of local elected officials were asking for that information specifically for assisted living facilities, and it wasn't.
The problem is, but then the problem is then you don't, how many cases are people just roaming around versus,
how many
Captive
cases are
audience
people
in a
just
nursing home.
roaming
and I
around
don't mean that
versus-
in a disrespectful way, but just in
Captive
terms of
audience
if
in a
they
nursing
close
home.
off the
And I
nurses,
don't mean that in a
cases and they close
disrespectful
it
way,
off,
but
then
just
it's
in
not
terms of
No.
if they close off the
publicly
nurses, if there are a lot of
transmittable
cases and they
among
close it
people
off,
that
then
are
it's not
traveling and going to
But
stores.
in
publicly
itself, it would be quite the
transmittable
petri
among
dish
people that
for
are
infection.
traveling and going to
But
stores.
in itself, it would be quite the petri dish for infection.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I will say that they did have an outbreak of the Birmingham fire department suffering that for a while.
Yeah.
Do we know if there were deaths at Birmingham Green?
Can't confirm that.
Okay.
We want to
Do we know if there were deaths at Birmingham Green?
Can't confirm that.
Okay.
So that we were taking a national service calls out there. But from a national and global standpoint, that should be the priority number one.
Because they're very high risk.
Is protecting seniors living disabilities.
Because they're very high risk, yeah.
But there's a lot of seniors who live out, as we found out with our food delivery, they live out amongst everyone.
We have to focus on how we help them.
We have to focus on how we help them. That should always have been strategy number one, is focus on those who are actually vulnerable to the worst effects of COVID-19. I'm not sure we've been successful at that as a nation, but that should have been priority number one.
So if you look at, these are Prince William numbers here.
So if you look at, these are Prince William numbers here. They look pretty close to the Northern Virginia area, where you can see that decline, which got us into phase one, and then we start seeing that increase, and then again a decline. So there appeared to be a little bounce back when we moved into phase one here. But again, some of these numbers are lagging. So even these numbers may look lower, they may actually go upwards as the numbers just get up. So starting with the line side, so we have to really wait for the health department directors to provide providing memos to
jurisdictions,
the county executives of the 5 big jurisdictions, who then been sending those to the chairs and the mayor of Alexandria, who then issue those letters to the governor. So that's really based off of those. That analysis
these are hospitalizations in our region.
This is these are hospitalization numbers for our region, which again, it really shows from a hospitalization standpoint. If we just look at this, we look at the ready to go into phase 2 now. If we look at just our region itself, the decline was delayed. It was flat, which is a good thing, right? But there didn't really appear to be a decline until we moved into phase 1. This looks troublesome here, it is kind of flattening out, but the good news is we are in the right, it looks like we're in the right trajectory for hospitalizations as well, but if you want to look at this from a conservative standpoint, you would look at more like June 19th.
The reason why we're because you can see it's kind of a mixed bag of data.
The reason why I'm showing this is you can see it's kind of a mixed bag of data. But it's clear that for most of this kind of balanced approach is really somewhere between June 12th or 19th would probably be a safer bet for us to reopen City Hall, right? It's making sure that we are heading in the right trajectory. We know we are for percent positive, but for deaths and hospitalizations, we want to make sure that those drops are going to continue. So my recommendation would be that we defer reopening City Hall until the 15th of June, based off the data that we were just looking at, and then we check again next week to see kind of if those drops are continuing before we trigger those.
Would we be able to discuss it at the work session, perhaps? Okay. Then, would we be able to discuss it at the work session, perhaps? Okay. Okay.
1 week later from today, kind of what's happened.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fine.
1 week later from today, kind of what's happened.
Vice Mayor Banks, do you have any questions?
That's fine, thank you.
Have you heard any news from our
Vice
MAP
Mayor
clinic?
Banks, do you have any questions, comments?
Have you heard any news from our MAP clinic?
From my understanding, they're only doing the testing Tuesday to Thursday, the week-long testing every day for extended hours to the health department, supporting and the nursing reserve corps, helping out just for 1 week. That's all we were able to do, and our MAP clinic continues to do it.
We're lucky to have it. We're getting consistent testing, at least in our area.
So we're lucky to have it. We're getting consistent testing, at least in our area, and that's not the case.
No, I think it looks good talking about it next week.
Councilmember Lansing, do you have any questions?
No, I think it looks good
Councilmember
talking about it
Machado,
next
do you have
week.
any questions or comments?
That's good. Councilmember Machado, do you have any questions or comments?
I just have one question. How is the operations, the system for the Treasury Department, right now? For the Treasury Department,
There's something about the treasurer and the commissioner?
What was the question again? I'm sorry, you broke up a little bit. There's something about the treasurer and the commissioner?
Yes, how was the operations for those two departments?
Yeah, so
Yes, how was the operations for those two departments?
they are
Yeah,
they are
so
still
they're
helping by appointment. So not like we really ever
They are,
fully shut down.
they are
We may
still
have done
helping
that
by
for the first
appointment.
2 weeks.
It's not like we really ever fully shut down. We may have done that for the first
Quickly as we
2
could, we
weeks.
did reopen.
When we declared a local emergency, but
Plexiglass up.
quickly as we could, we
Both
did
departments
reopen
and
by
for the
appointment. We had
permitting
the
office.
plexiglass up for
Registrar
both
as well, so they
departments
still are
and for
helping
the
people
permitting
by
office and one
appointment.
for the registrar as well. So they still are helping
Everything
people
I'm hearing is that
by
their
appointment.
operations are going fine.
But everything I'm hearing is that their operations are going
Councilmember
fine.
Sendejas, do you have a question or comment?
Councilmember Sendejas, do you have a question or comment?
Councilmember
I don't
Javed?
have any comments or questions. Thank you.
Okay. Councilmember
No, I
Javed?
think that's why we can do the June 15th reopening. No, I think that's why we can do the June 15th reopening. City Hall.
Okay.
I was gonna add that
Okay,
I'd
thank
be
you.
comfortable with June 15th for the reopening.
Okay.
I was gonna add
Yeah.
that.
We can
I'd be
talk about it
comfortable with
next
June
week, see the
15th for
data,
reopen.
see what
How
happens.
much
We can
timing is
talk
like,
about it next
how much
week, see
time
the
does
data,
staff need to be
see
able
what
to
happens.
reopen? How much timing is it like, how much time does staff need to be able to reopen?
Pretty much ready. It's just whatever we make a decision on Tuesday, there's still some last steps that we will take, but we just see we're not there today. We've already started striking everything, so we work to that today. So we're getting ready. It's just whenever we make that decision on that Tuesday, then it's about putting out flyers, moving, making sure cars aren't parking in certain areas, and cleaning up the areas inside city, cleaning out of everything, so we have plenty of space to lay out the 6 feet stickers or tape on the ground for people to stand.
Comms check this weekend.
The Parks and Rec team is already trained out. This is their comms check this week with Keith.
Thank you very much.
This is very supportive.
I see we do not have a closed
Thank you
meeting.
very much.
So is there anything else for the good
I
of the
see
city?
we do not have a closed meeting.
I wanted to
So
bring up
is there
something that
anything
I
else
got
for the
just
good
while we've
of the
been sitting
city?
here, and I wanted to bring up something that I got just while we've been sitting here, and
Somebody just sent me a,
I don't even know, maybe I wanted to tell you offline about it, but somebody just sent me
going
a,
around on
apparently it's a,
Facebook,
something
apparently
going
about
around on
some kind of rally in Manassas Park.
on Facebook apparently about
One of these Black
some
Lives
kind of
Matter
rally in
at
Manassas
28,
Park.
28
One of
Manassas
these
Drive
Black
on
Lives
June
Matter
6th.
at 28,
And
28 Manassas Drive on June 6th.
Saturday. And it's
And
saying 12 p.m. to
which
12
is
midnight.
what, Saturday?
So I don't
And
know
it's
if
saying
anybody's seen
12
this. Somebody
p.m. to
from-
12
somebody from
midnight.
Manassas forwarded it to me.
So I don't know if anybody's seen this, somebody from Manassas forwarded it to
about
me.
this, but
I don't know if our police, there's anybody's here from the police department, if they know about this,
We're
but.
tracking that
I believe Chief Lugo's on. We're tracking that between Chief
I'll show you after the meeting.
We're not tracking, I don't know if they've heard about it, but every time we get.
I'll show you after the meeting.
I just was
we're
concerned. I
following-
wasn't sure if
following
you'd
things on
seen it
Twitter
or
and
not.
Facebook,
You know, maybe to be prepared.
I just was concerned, I wasn't sure if you'd seen it or not, you know, maybe to be prepared.
June 6th.
It went pretty well.
Yeah, that's what it said.
So the good news was yesterday, it was actually, it went pretty well.
Well, I worry though that, see, like the one in Manassas was peaceful.
Well, I
The problem
worry
is
though
once it
that,
got dark and
see,
the
like the
first
one in
wave of
Manassas
people
was
left,
peaceful,
then other people
but the
came
problem is
in,
once it got dark and the
that's when
first
you
wave
got
of
the
people left,
looting. That's when you
then
got
other people came
doing
in,
property
and
damage.
that's when you
know,
got the
there were people out there
looting,
till
that's when you
like
got people
almost
doing
midnight.
property damage.
And those weren't
You know,
the
and
peaceful
there were people out there
protesters.
till
Those were
like
the, you know, those are
almost
the people
midnight.
that come from the outside.
And those
come in
weren't
and
the
wanna do
peaceful
damage.
protesters, those
So
were
that's why I
the,
worry
you know,
when I
those
see
are the
that
people
where
that
they
come
wanna
from
do
the
a
outside
12-hour
and come in and
event.
want to do damage.
That's not a
So
peaceful
that's why I worry when I
protest.
see that, where they
12
want to do a
hours,
12-hour
protest
event, like,
peacefully for 12
that's not a
hours.
peaceful protest, 12
Bad things
hours,
can
you know,
happen
nobody
once the sun goes
protests
down
peacefully for 12 hours.
At our major intersection in the
Bad
city,
things can happen once
you know,
the
I would
sun
be
goes
worried that,
down.
you know, it would cut
At
the
our
city
major
off,
intersection
or
in the
they'd try to
city,
block traffic,
you know, I would be
or,
worried that, you know, it would cut the city
or
off,
our
or
businesses
they'd
that
try to
we
block
just-
traffic,
They want to try to
or,
give COVID money
you
to,
know,
and then they end up
or hurt
having
our businesses that
losses
we've
due
just
to,
said we want
you
to
know,
try to give
protests.
COVID money to, and then they end up having losses due to, you know, protests.
So the most lead time we can have, the better, because then we can try to help redirect traffic. We've already talked about what would happen if they.
Yeah, let them know that they can close early or.
Because that's what like Walmart and
Yeah,
Wawa
let them
and
know
some of
that
those
they can
businesses,
close
they
early or.
they just close down.
Because that's what like
completely early.
Walmart and Wawa and some
So
of
what
those
does the
businesses, they
reroute
close,
look
they
like?
just close down completely early.
So what does the reroute look like?
Oh, okay. Yeah,
I
understood.
would feel
We have a
comfortable,
way to
Chief, we would have better.
Oh, okay.
route
Going at,
traffic
but
Yeah,
we have our-
understood.
We have a way to
traffic safe and keep pedestrians
route
safe.
Okay,
traffic
okay.
to keep.
Okay, without
traffic
the
safe and
specific
keep
details.
pedestrians safe.
Okay,
Okay.
Sorry, I
okay.
wasn't going to bring it up on the
Okay,
record, but just
without the specific details.
I felt like it's not
Okay.
posted.
I wasn't gonna bring it up on the record, but
It's a I felt like it's not a closed session.
Okay.
because I don't-
Do we have a
it's
motion to
it's
adjourn?
Hypothetical.
Second.
All in favor? Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion carries. Thank you, everyone.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion carries. Thank you, everyone.
When you think